Now we're live.
What's going on, Whisper Nation? Thank you for joining in on another Mock Draft Monday. You got your boys, Johnny Game Time Hicks, Big Travie, Austin Sear here hosting this time. And we've got a 16-team half-point PPR mock draft coming your way. And I am just so excited to say there is only one more spot left available in this live mock draft. If you are listening right now on our live stream, first off, thank you. Second off, jump in and grab that last live spot. The last 2 weeks, we've had people chime in like 703, 704, being like, oh, I just missed it. Now is your time to just not miss it. So jump in there. We've got the number 9 spot available. Anyways, like I said, it's a 16-team half-point PPR. We're doing 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, Johnny?
Yeah, 3. 3 wide
1
receivers.
tight end, kicker, defense, all that good stuff.
Flex.
And a flex, of course.
Yeah.
And a flex, of course.
This
Want to thank. Got these ones going. If you haven't liked and subscribed to our channel, The Fantasy Whispers, please hit that thumbs up button, hit that red subscribe button. Really helps grow the channel. It gives us a lot of endorphins and the energy that we need to continue creating all of this daily content. Content which you can go onto thefantasywhispers.com to check out. We've got articles, we've got daily videos coming out on our YouTube. We've got a lot of Instagram posts that get sharing. Twitter's active as well. Please go ahead and check out thefantasywhispers.com, TFW, to check out all of that daily content that we've got coming up. Last, want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you for supporting the show. If you'd like to become one, you can support the content that we're creating. Patreon.com. There's a link to that in our website at thefantasywhispers.com. Love doing these mock drafts so much that in August, we're going to do a 24-hour mock draft marathon, a mockathon, if you will, 24 straight hours of mock drafting. Different segments, one after the other for 24 hours straight. Love to get you guys joining in on that. Keep an eye out for that. Another thing to keep an eye out for is the draft kit. This is an amazing piece of fantasy football content that's going to have you prepared for your draft. It's the end-all, be-all. Yeah, you can go on to Pro Football Focus, FF Today, whatever your site of choice is. If you get this draft kit, though, you are legitimately going to have a leg up above the rest. It's going to give you all of the relevant information that you need to beat your league mates and just to be a little bit better than them. Plus, it looks like a comic book. It's dope as hell. It's really fun. I don't like draft kits. I love this draft kit. That's no lie there. Johnny, Travis, am I missing anything?
No, I appreciate
need to get
started.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, he's actually buying some time. Brandon's in the chat wishing he could get in right now. Saying,
no, I think
there we go.
I think he got in.
Good. You get Austin going on the monologue, then you get a chance at getting a spot.
Yeah.
Austin, appreciate the shout out there, especially for the draft kit. Me and Johnny are working really hard on that bad boy. You can still get it on pre-sale right now for $10. That's $5 off. By the middle of this week, it's going to be off of that price and up to $15. So get it now at $10. It's a steal of a deal, best deal in the industry. And with that, Johnny, we just filled our last spot in this 16-team half-point PPR. Austin, we've got a full slot of players. Let's do this thing.
Let's get it going.
Got a full slot. We also got 666 subscribers, 666.
Oh,
damn, it's going to be a good-ass day.
Crazy.
I love this.
Oh, my goodness. Please, if you're watching along here, jam that thumbs up button. It really, really helps our channel get past 666 followers and subscribers.
Yeah. Please do it now.
Not everybody worships the Dark Lord the same way that my cats and I do. That's all good. Whatever your luck of charm is for your fantasy football league. It might be the Virgin Mary, the Mother of Guadalupe. It might be the number of the beast. Whatever works for you. We are an open platform over here. We love you all and all religious beliefs. I want to give also a shout out as the draft is getting going right now. We are moving through it. Give a shout out to our lineups here, and apologies if I do mess up any of your usernames. I'm going to blame it on you for picking a difficult username to read. We got Easy Daddy, we've got Junior Yaka, we've got The Truth Serum FF, Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake, our number one fan. I'm just going to take a moment.
Yep.
This 16-team draft is because of him. It was by his request. We love you, Jacob. So much so we're going to do a 16-team fully stocked draft room and be here for 3 hours. Love you. We got Reed Tyler, who's been showing up every single week as well. Right before him, Alpenseke. He's got a really cool logo, though. I'm sorry, Alpanseke, something like that. Hit us up in the chat if I'm butchering any of these names. I do my best to get it right. Big Travie, hello. Boomerang steals something. Your username's too long. It's getting cut off. FF Fortune, B Candela, 83. Welcome. The Cat's Pajamas. Love that. John Game Time Hicks in the house. The Shiva. Game Extreme,
Shiva,
Daddy,
Shiva,
and
dude.
your host, Austin Sear.
Yeah.
Dude, what a way to work through those names.
Hey, and what a way for Whisper Nation to show out on this, man. Bravo. 16 people. Bravo.
Rocking it.
And those 16 people, we got to see Christian McCaffrey coming off the board, number 1. No surprise there. Ezekiel Elliott, number 2. Little surprise to him go before Saquon Barkley, all good, though, who did go number 3. Alvin Kamara, number 4, followed by Dalvin Cook. Michael Thomas, first wide receiver, is gone. Your boy Travis took Derrick Henry at the 7th spot, followed by Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams. That second wide receiver is gone, setting up Johnny Game Time Hicks's pick. What's going through your head right now? We usually do some strategies of saying this is what I'm going to be aiming for. We're not doing that today. We're going to go ahead and pick the best freaking lineups that we can, I think, and talk it through of who we're thinking and why. With that, Game Time, what's on your mind?
Yeah, with 16, you definitely have to just be like, you have to go with the best available here. But here's the thing, like pick 12 was really, really difficult, and I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew it was going to test me, but I wanted the challenge, and I was really hoping Devontae Adams would fall to me. I don't want to have to do this, but Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver, and so I'm going to go Tyreek Hill here. I almost considered going Julio Jones because I do think Julio Jones is very, very consistent. We've been working on the draft kit, and I just did his complete profile, and I project him to get, right around 1,400 yards again. So hard to pass that up. But the upside of Tyreek Hill is certainly something I can't pass up in a 16 team where I need to set myself apart. And I'll counterbalance Tyreek Hill later on in the draft with maybe a safer wide receiver too. But I'll do it. I'll start off with Tyreek Hill. I'm okay with it.
I love that you mentioned positional advantage there, Johnny, as well as risk mitigation with your logic there on Tyreek Hill. So big fan of that pick. I thought that was the right one.
Speaking of the positional advantages, Daddy just took away my opportunity at a positional advantage by sneaking Julio Jones. I love Julio Jones in this setup. I love DeAndre Hopkins, who's also there. I was hoping to be able to grab the both of them, stack, in my opinion, 2 elite wide receivers, especially in a 16-team draft. I'm picking at the very end. Would have liked to do that. I am going to go for best available here. I'm not going to be able to. I still could take a tight end. I could go actually pretty crazy here and grab Johnny's favorite double dip in the game and take a little Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce action.
Ooh.
Go ahead and set that one up right there. That's definitely running through my mind to be a fun one, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with giving myself what I believe is the best players available here. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins. I do view him as an elite. Also from Arizona. Love the Cardinals. If you like a guy and he's also a good player, you don't need to think too hard about it. Go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I want to get your guys' take on this one. I'm a big Leonard Fournette fan. We've gone back and forth on this one. I think he's got a ceiling there. Would you take someone like a Leonard Fournette in this position right here, or go ahead and sneak up one of those quarterbacks, taking Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes?
So personally, I'm not a huge fan of Leonard Fournette here. I'd like to get him a little bit later on, but I do understand wanting to solidify a running back, especially after taking Hopkins there. And when you're looking at some of the guys here, Aaron Jones, Eckler, Melvin Gordon, James Conner, a lot of those guys have just as many question marks, if not more, than Leonard Fournette, who should be, he had the most targets in his career last year. He had the most reception in his career last year. He's a focal point of that offense. So yeah, I think Fournette is a guy I would go with.
I'm going to go ahead and take your advice on this one, Travi. I do like Leonard Fournette. For me, ranking him, he's right up there. I would actually, he's got all the opportunity and the talent and the system for me to put him in that RB1 conversation for me, right behind that group of elites. So I'm comfortable right there grabbing Leonard Fournette and DeAndre Hopkins on the back turn. I want to give a shout out. That completes our first round, and just want to give a reminder to like and subscribe to this. Thank you all for being here in our 16-team half point, and thank you to everybody who's in the live chat on YouTube as well as in the live chat on Sleeper, our platform of choice right now. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I was just going to second what both of you guys were saying about Leonard Fournette. I really like Leonard Fournette. A lot of people are off of him. I would like to take advantage of the people that in my league that are off of Leonard Fournette because just because Chris Thompson comes in there doesn't mean that, the lack of receptions that he is going to lose because of Chris Thompson, he'll make up. I promise you, he'll make that up in touchdowns this year and touchdown regression to the positive. And so I was really hoping Leonard Fournette would fall to me here in the second. Unfortunately, you grabbed
Yeah,
him.
so
So
Pimpin' Ain't Easy in the chat says any worries with Chris Thompson going there. We know Chris Thompson's there. We know he's going to be a pass catching back. We know that he's got history with the current offensive coordinator, Jay Gruden for Jacksonville. So yeah, that could be concerning. But as Johnny said, there's so much positive regression for Leonard Fournette in the cards for touchdowns, as well as the fact that the team itself had a ratio of passing touchdowns to rushing touchdowns that was tremendously high for a team of their caliber, which means that number is probably going to even out. They should score more rushing touchdowns.
Following that Leonard Fournette pick, just updating our listeners on the picks to follow in that second round. Travis Kelce, the guy I talked about considering, was taken right after. Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, and Johnny grabbed Chris Carson starting back for the Seattle Seahawks. 16 teams.
yeah,
Good players start going quick.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there are a lot of good wide receivers. I mean, some people might have said I should have went Chris Godwin there, and certainly would have been a good double wide receiver stack. As you can tell, running backs are coming off the board rather quickly here. And Chris Carson, to me, I love. Again, very similar to Leonard Fournette. A lot of people are discrediting Chris Carson. They're allowing his injury to sway them to think that he's not going to have a good year. And, the Carlos Hyde signing, also people want to point at that. But I will continue to point at the fact that they keep saying that Chris Carson is their guy. It's his contract year. I expect big things from Chris Carson. I love Chris Carson, not only this year, but I'm a big fan. I've grown up become a big fan of Chris Carson.
I think we all love the starting running back for Pete Carroll's Seahawks. I think that's definitely the case. And Pete Carroll picks him pretty well. Chris Carson, we know not a lot of draft pedigree, but that man just runs so damn hard. He shows up, and he's got that injury, but if he's coming in and he is playing hard as we are accustomed to seeing him do it, I'm not concerned about Carlos Hyde either. Even in a committee situation, I think that the starting running back in Seattle is going to be really good, and that's definitely Chris Carson to start the year, excuse me. Following him, we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire, rookie running back out of Kansas City, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, James Conner, and Big Travie went with Mike Evans, the second wide receiver there selected out of Tampa Bay, and I personally prefer him over Chris Godwin, or I'd say this, I like grabbing the second of the two Tampa Bay wide receivers. What about Mike Evans jumped out to you?
Well, Mike Evans was the last one, and a little bit of a tear break for me of guys that have done it before that have the huge upside at the position. Kenny Golladay would have been a guy I like to have taken with Chris Godwin off the board, but Kenny Golladay got taken. I like Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans has as good a shot as Chris Godwin, especially with Tom Brady coming to town, to be the guy here. We know what Tom Brady's capable of, and we know what this offense is capable of with Bruce Arians pushing the ball down the field. Mike Evans is there, but also Rob Gronkowski, Chris Godwin are there. So not my first pick there, but I'll take him. I needed a number one wide receiver here in the second round to kind of build my roster out. Mike Evans was my pick.
Mike Evans to me right now and Chris Godwin strike me the way that maybe 2 years ago Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen did. It was two guys in really close spots, and you could make a strong case for why either one of them was the wide receiver to grab there in Minnesota. The same way you can make a case for Chris Godwin or Mike Evans being that selection. We know it's all about grabbing value to give yourself a leg up in your league. For that reason, I would love to grab the second of the two, because to me, that just means you got a better value grab than whoever got the first of the two, because it's a coin toss to me. And actually, I'd rather take Mike Evans personally.
I mean, if you're going history and then based on pedigree as a wide receiver, you'd probably want to take Evans. He's just built like a wide receiver one, right? He's got the history to do it, all these 1,000-yard seasons in his belt. But Godwin had a huge last couple years.
Godwin had a huge last year for sure, but it's a totally new kind of system coming in there. And Mike Evans is a legit animal. This is a
No, it's
6'5",
not a new
230
system.
pound, 26-year-old.
No, it's not a new system. It's the same
Well,
new
this
system.
quarterback.
right, new
We're
quarterback.
going from Jameis Winston to Tom Brady. You want to say it's not different?
Oh, no.
Excuse me?
Sorry. I'm talking about Galladay. I'm saying Galladay
Oh,
here.
I was meaning Godwin. So
Oh, got it. Okay. I got
Yeah.
real
Oh,
confused
yeah, we are
there for
all
a
in
second.
agreement
I was
there.
like, oh.
Catching our listeners up following that Mike Evans pick, we saw Le'Veon Bell, Amari Cooper, Lamar Jackson first QB off the board, followed by Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, and Patrick Mahomes by Easy Daddy. The two elite quarterbacks are now gone, and we're starting the third round off with Devin Singletary, current starting running back for the Buffalo Bills.
Two things. Easy Daddy is got a very good strategy here. I love that he had grabbed Pat Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey. Like, that is a very difficult combo to beat on. I mean, just even one of those guys on any given week is difficult to overcome, let alone two of them. That is a great one. And Lamar Jackson also, I think, is a very, very tremendous value, falling 213 to Jacob Blay. I like that pickup there. I was surprised he fell there. I thought Travis was going to get Lamar Jackson at the 210 spot instead of Mike Evans.
I want to take a second to gas up Jacob Blay's first three picks here. We're in a 16 team, and to do a top heavy, or as some call it, a 3 elite strategy, is very difficult to do. I think he's about as close as you could do it on this one, grabbing Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, and George Kittle. That is a fantastic 1, 2, 3. Now, George Kittle might not actually end up producing. He was somewhat of a disappointment last year. But as far as tight ends go, behind Travis Kelce, I'm taking George Kittle just as much as any one of them. He does have that legit advantage up. And Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, enough said.
I will say I had George Kittle, and it very much was a very big disappointment in last year. But I will say that he had, I believe it was 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, Whisper Nation in the chat if you know this. I believe it was 4 though. 4 touchdowns called back because of penalties that were like ticky tack too. It was just like shouldn't have really been called, which would have been a huge sway, obviously, for George Kittle in a big way. So if he can get, bounce back, and that way I think George Kittle will be fine.
I want to take a second just to talk maybe a little bit in a nerdy perspective here while Big Travy's making his selection about what you said there about the 4 touchdowns pulled back and also about Leonard Fournette's statistical anomaly in terms of lack of touchdowns. It's important, I think, for the listeners to know, especially younger people or people just getting involved in fantasy football, to realize that there isn't enough opportunity in the game of football, either from the amount of time they play in a given game or the amount of games in a season, to have a fully honest representation of how skilled any player could be. There's just not enough games where if you get a couple of game stretch where fluky things happen, you really don't have that many offensive series in a given game to score a touchdown, to make big yards, to make things happen. So fluky things happen, and those fluky things, when you get a run of them, we call it an anomaly, but they happen every year. You're going to have a whole season where someone like a Melvin Gordon in his rookie year or Leonard Fournette last year have like how does he not have a touchdown yet? Or Julio Jones 2 years ago through like the first 8 weeks had 1 touchdown. Wild stuff like this happens, and it can keep going, but talented players do break out. If they don't break out during the season, I wouldn't weigh too much on it the next season if you do have one of these statistical outliers that you're looking at. Unlike, say, baseball that has 162 games and way too many innings, but you have then a real representation at the end of really what everybody's about.
Yeah, I think just to summarize a little bit of what Austin's saying there is like you're trying to play this game based on what's most likely to happen. And based on what Leonard Fournette was doing last year, it was not likely he was going to keep not scoring touchdowns. He happened to keep not scoring touchdowns. So what does that say? That this year he should likely score more touchdowns. Doesn't mean that he won't go this season without scoring too. That's just how this game works. That's how sports work. But we're just saying if you're trying to line up a roster based on what should happen, you can look at some of these numbers and these statistics and line yourself up in that way to put yourself in the best position of what should be happening on your roster.
It's like if you flipped a quarter 10 times and you got 10 straight heads, and then you ask, what are the next 5 flips likely to be? Well, it's probably not going to be heads again. Yeah. So, but sometimes it is, and then you get a Julio Jones or a Leonard Fournette, and it's all crazy. So following the George Kittle pick, we saw Calvin Ridley off the board, A.J. Brown, Mark Ingram grabbed by Big Travie, love that. Zach Ertz, followed by David Montgomery, Todd Gurley the second, Raheem Mostert, Mr. Give Me a Trade. Johnny Hicks grabs Robert Woods, his boy. I still owe you a hat from that bet I lost last year against him and Brandon Cooks, who did get hurt though. So
hey.
Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen gone as well.
I appreciate the honesty.
Robert Woods, the perennial.
I completely forgot about that. But yeah, no, Robert Woods, like I said, when I took Tyreek Hill, I said I wanted to balance that out with a more consistent wide receiver, and this is what I mean. Robert Woods last year, I also had on my team, and it was frustrating for the majority of the year, but down the stretch when they actually committed to going to more 12 personnel and took Cooper Kupp more off of the field, it actually was very beneficial for Robert Woods, and Robert Woods was one of the best wide receivers down the stretch, and he was getting massive targets. This guy is actually very, very good at fantasy football, and people just don't give him the respect. And so, some people might say you should have taken Cooper Kupp over Robert Woods. I'm a bigger fan of Robert Woods than Cooper Kupp. We do have a face-off Friday between Travis Hyde, between Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. So that was fun. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But I'm a big fan of Robert Woods here. So pairing him, that is my safety net. I think he'll be consistent he has a high upside. And then you have Tyreek Hill, who has the extreme upside of like the 30-point weeks. So
I'm just making my second selection here. I grabbed DJ Moore.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Was that your boy?
Dang it.
Well, I almost grabbed Odell Beckham. Maybe you can grab Odell Beckham and then
I thought he was so going to fall to me.
Never take your players for granted in fantasy football. Feel comfortable with somebody on your bench that you could in your drafting bench, if you will. Pitcher guys are going to get got. I promise you. At least a couple.
Like Bruce Lee says, you got to be like water. Always be ready to change and morph no matter what happens in the draft. If your guy gets taken, you got to move on. You got to go with someone else. Make adjustments.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Make adjustments. So I want to take a second to talk about this pick here. DJ Moore. DJ Moore's great. Thought about him. Thought about T.Y. Hilton. I thought about Odell Beckham. Went with DJ Moore because I wanted to piss off Johnny. Picked Sony Michel because I'm not a big Sony Michel fan at all. I think that dude has bunk knees. I don't think he's really going to be getting it going, but I think he's going to be the guy to start. And here's my secret plan is anybody who's drafted with me knows that I like to invest in backfields. I like to grab as much of the backfield as I can because I believe you can only start so many guys on your roster. Yeah, my bench could be occupied by dart throws, or it could be occupied by guys who are part of a backfield, ensuring I have a starting running back in a situation. We never know who's going to be the lead dog over there in New England, but whoever it is usually a really good pick, whether that's LeGarrette Blount, whether that's Stephen Ridley going back to years ago. James White is that consistent PPR force. I'm not going to get him. But whoever is that lead dog does do well. And I think that Sony Michel's got a pretty high draft capital right now. But the guys below him, who spoiler alert, planning on picking up later on, would just ensure that I've got that early down back for the Patriots, who I anticipate to be running a lot this season.
Yeah, they're getting pretty tight here in this 16-team league, and that's not bad to pick up the starting running back for the New England Patriots here in the fourth round of a 16-team league. So as your RB2, you could do a lot worse with a guy with touchdown upside that Sony Michel has. I will say that touchdown upside significantly may go down if Cam Newton is the starting quarterback for a significant amount of time for the Patriots this year, given that he leads the NFL. The entire NFL history in rushing touchdowns from the quarterback position. So we know that that's Cam's strong point in the red zone. Could take away from a little bit of that upside, but love the logic there that you're talking about with the Patriots and how they become a run-heavy team, and they know how to play to their strong defense and run the ball consistently.
I do think that's a really good point that you brought up there about Cam Newton, and I think that you might have some listeners who are saying, well, the last phase he had in Carolina, he wasn't running the ball from that position as much because he was getting hurt and it was a different kind of Cam Newton. But I want to say that I've got a hankering to believe that Bill Belichick, who's a man who maximizes the strength of his players, would be not Bill Belichick if he didn't find a way to maximize, as you so adequately put it, Travis, one of the best goal line rushing quarterbacks we've ever seen. And we got to obviously keep his health in line, but this man has a knack for it. He's really good at doing it, and I think that if he is that starting quarterback come on, like, he probably will be. I expect to see some goal line snags orchestrated by Belichick and Cam Newton.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
We saw Cam Akers off the board from the Sony Michel pick and going into the 4th round. Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Lockett, our boy Johnny Game Time hits with his boy DJ Shark. Kareem Hunt gone. DK Metcalf, Odell Beckham Jr. by FF Fortune, 1 pick before Travis. While Boomerang Steeler is selecting their pick, I want to touch in on Johnny's DJ Shark pickup. We talked about Leonard Fournette with the Jags. Now you got the starting wide receiver for the Jags. I know you're a big fan. Tell me about him.
Yeah, Whisper Nation, let me know on the there might be some crackling. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that or it's just on my end. Let me know in the thing. And also shrink and remove the queue. I can try. Sorry, we're getting a could you make small recommendation to adjust the players remaining so we could see? That would be cool. Yeah, I might be able to. I think if I drop this down, though, it ends up being the whole thing. So you can't really end up seeing.
You're talking about we've got somebody who's looking at on the live stream and it's hard to see the extra players. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, they want to see who is available. Oh, I guess I could go like this.
Well, Johnny's taking a look at and making the screen a little bit more palatable for our viewers on here. We saw Marlon Mack gone, and Big Travie grabs Tevin Coleman, maybe the upcoming lead dog over there in San Francisco if Raheem Mostert's trade requests are made. And having the starting running back for San Francisco is a damn good pick. Was that where your head at, or are you thinking something else, Travie?
If Johnny doesn't crucify me because he's trying to figure out the IT right now, he would be pretty upset that I picked Tevin Coleman a couple weeks after trying to make a big case for Raheem Mostert on our show. But it's just this simple, not that Johnny, he deserves a lot of credit for talking me into Tevin Coleman here, but also Raheem Mostert asking for a trade deserves some of that credit too. Tevin Coleman is a guy that we know is signed by the Niners, that has the history with Shanahan, that got around 30% of the snap share last year in an injured year, saw multiple multi-touchdown games, was supposed to be their lead down back for a lot of last year, but battled injury. Look, one of these guys, or maybe multiple, are going to be profitable in this offense. That's just how Shanahan works. He consistently puts up top 15 running backs. Coleman is a guy that projects to be at least the first crack at it, especially with Mostert in public saying that he wants a better deal, and Coleman just kind of being quiet and being the guy atop the depth chart.
More there. We saw following the Tevin Coleman pick, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews, Terry McLaurin by our boy Jacob Blay, Ronald Jones II, Stephon Diggs, and Easy Daddy closing out the 4th with T.Y. Hilton. His draft is so good. T.Y. Hilton there, pairing with Devin Singletary, Patrick Mahomes, and Christian McCaffrey. Love where he's taken his Jacob Blaze as well. So we closed out the 4th round, making our way now to start up the 5th. Just want to give everybody we've got in the live chat on YouTube a big shout out. Thank you so much for joining us here. Love chatting with you there. Keep letting us know what you think of the picks. Any questions you have, we love to interact with everybody on the YouTube chat, as well as the sleeper chat. We've got 16 folks live drafting along with us in here. Thank you all for being a part of this draft. Thank you all to Whisper Nation for tuning in. Thank you all for giving us the energy to keep doing what we're doing. And if you want to see more of this, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Let us know what you're thinking, what's going on. Love to have you being a part of this community. It's one large league as we see it, and I don't know if there's a more fun space than a fantasy football league. So be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Keep an eye out for Mock Draft Marathon if you're enjoying these ones coming up next month. That's a full 24 hours of mock drafting, just like we're doing right here.
Nonstop.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're in the 5th round right now. Cortland Sutton is off the board.
All right, it is good. So now I'm back. I'm back in the lab. I'm ready to go and focus. And let me catch up here. First of all, DJ Chark in the 4th round. Super excited about this guy.
No, dude, you
on my
listen.
team.
The time's
Hold
up.
on,
You've got to
hold
move
on.
on. We're in a
No,
different round
no.
now. It's a
Hey,
different time.
Listen, the audio tech guy gets his time. All right. DJ Chark, love it. Paired with my other 2 wide receivers, I thought about going Kareem Hunt there, but the fact that he's not necessarily a starting running back, and I'm not convinced quite yet that he will be a viable RB2 to start the season. I think he could end up being that, looking back at the end of the season, but it's a little shaky. So DJ Chark for me. And yeah, speaking of Travis, you are so lucky. That's why he didn't want to go back. I knew it. I knew why he didn't want to go back. And it was because, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now with the Tevin Coleman grab after I was told, and you got so angry at me. You got so pissed off that I had said to grab
angry. I don't get mad,
Tevin
man.
Coleman.
Nope.
And then you're going to take him on a mock
Wrong
draft
guy.
and act like that's your boy. And after I'm pretty sure you even said that you even insulted me by saying that Tevin Coleman was, that I did not like Tevin Coleman at all, and that I was never a fan of his. So how dare you? How dare you? And I hope that threw you off, and that you have 13 seconds. Oh, you son of a...
He did not throw me off. Did not throw me off at all. I have this really nice thing after doing this podcast for years with you where I can just flip a switch and ignore you when I need to and when I need to zone in.
True.
And that is exactly what I did there. And I just blacked out and made the right choice.
That pick was Darius Geis. Before that, we saw Damian Williams, Dak Prescott, Marquise Brown, Devontae Parker, and A.J. Green gone. After Darius Geis, we saw Jarvis Landry off the board. Fantasy Fortune took Kyler Murray, another Arizona boy. Love that one. As we're making our way here through the 5th round. Darius Geis, Travis, I love that pick. The Washington to be named starting running back. When the man is healthy and he plays, my goodness, he will be a late 1st round, 2nd round talent if he stays playing this year. Let's get real. He's got no real competition behind him, and what's likely going to be a run-heavy
somewhere.
Team, except
Adrian Peterson is buried alive, rolling around in his casket. When you say nobody's behind him, that's talented. But I understand what you mean. Like, they're not counting on Adrian Peterson to be the guy that usurps Darius Geis. But yes, I love Darius Geis's talent. He's got all the talent in the world coming out of LSU. Just needs healthy knees, and hopefully those the reconstructed ones he's got will hold up this year. And look, with the advances in modern science, look, speaking of Adrian Peterson, he's on a reconstructed knee.
high amount of income.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, they replaced some guy's heart with a pig heart the other day. I mean, it was Russia and the dude died, but I mean, it's just wild that they're trying that stuff, you know?
It ain't easy says, I love having Geis for 5 games before I have to put him on the IR. I do too. And then, though, the good part is you'll probably get him back week 14 or week 15. And
just in time for the playoffs.
You might get a game or 2 out of him in your playoffs.
Yeah. Look, the joy here is I took him as my 4th running back, so I don't really need to rely on him to be the one. But if he does pop, man, do I have a surplus of backs here in a 16-team league where people will come calling.
Darius Geis is definitely, I want to spend just a second more on Darius Geis because he's one of those guys who's going later. I mean, hell, he just went after Damian Williams, but Darius Geis could really have this whole job locked up. We're talking about a talented guy who could be getting a ton of work, and it could be a real steal at his current draft position. Following Geis went Jarvis Landry, Kyler Murray, as said, Brandon Cooks, Tyler Boyd, and our boy Johnny Game Time Hicks takes Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson, who is now off the board.
Yeah, a little bit of a shocker here, I know. But I've been doing a little bit of research, for the draft kit. And Russell Wilson is just a guy that I am finding that I've never, ever owned in my entire fantasy career. And I'm probably going to own him a lot this year. And he's probably not going to do well. I'll be honest, because that generally happens with me and fantasy players is I don't trust them, and then I finally do trust them, and then and then that doesn't work out, and I'm off of them, and then they go back to being really good. And so, but I'm hoping Russell Wilson changes that momentum for me. And anyway, Russell Wilson is such a dominant quarterback, and I know how. Listen, I love Kyler Murray, and I love the Kyler Murray pick. And if Kyler Murray was available here at my spot, it would have been very, very tempting and hard for me to go Russell over Kyler at that point. But the upside that Kyler possesses high upside, but there is a truth that there is kind of a little bit of a downside that of a floor that we might not like or might not be happy with by taking Kyler where he's at, and that might be quarterback 8, similar to what he had last year. But Russell Wilson has shown time and time again that he is a top 4 quarterback. And so you get the floor of a top 5 quarterback, but the upside, because one of these years, if Seattle decides, hey, they want to throw because Russell Wilson can actually do that, look out, look the bleep out, because Russell Wilson will be fire.
A couple of notes on Johnny's point from the draft kit, which you can get at thefantasywhispers.com at a pre-sale price of $10, guys. So $10, that's going to go up later this week to $15. But Russell Wilson has played 128 of 128 possible games in his season, or in his career. He has 4 top 5 finishes in fantasy football, including QB4 last year. So to Johnny's point, he's as consistent as they come, and he is as good a bet as any to be the QB1 this year.
Every year he does it.
Every year.
I think it's good. So we saw, then following the Wilson pickup, Michael Gallup, James White,
you
Christian
did
Kirk.
that. You dirty. See, I wanted
talking
to,
about
I
my
was
picks?
thinking about doing, yes, because
fifth, sixth.
I was thinking about it, but I didn't feel good about taking Jordan Howard in the 5th. It felt gross to me, and I didn't think Matt Breida
It feels gross
would,
to me too.
But
Gross to you until you realize
no,
it's 16-team league.
Right. No, what you did was very, very smart. I like what you did. I was thinking, what are the probability of me being able to pull off that very move? And it was very slim. And I couldn't justify taking Breida over Jordan Howard, but I would kind of need to in a PPR. I like what you
Tell the
did.
viewers,
I like what you did.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. For the viewers listening, what I did was at the 5th, 6th round turn, I took Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. I took the 2 expected leading running backs for the Miami Dolphins. Is this team good? No. Do I think they're going to be a dominant force? Probably not. But we've got a lot of new factors coming in. No. But they've got a lot of. It's going to be new. We got to have a new quarterback coming in, or we're going to have Fitzmagic throwing the ball, who was showing a lot of promise at the end of last year. I think this team is going to be more explosive than they were at the first half of last season. And if you get something weird that happens, if it just starts clicking and we get some more Fitzmagic, or Tua comes in there and he just lights the league on fire and the chains are moving and things are happening, that starting running back is going to have a lot of value. And grabbing both of them there, do I like that? No. Would I rather grab, say, a Phillip Lindsay or a J.K. Dobbins, somebody who has an actual shot at maybe being a valuable player all on their own? Yeah, that's a dice roll to take. But I went and I hedged the bet, and I guaranteed myself a starting running back right now. That's why both of these guys are going so late, is because you don't really know. They're also not on a great team, but it's one of those teams where it's not for certain. We also don't know who is going to be guaranteeing leading the league or leading that team. It's probably going to be one of these 2 guys, though, so now I've got that starting running back. And to get that in the 5th, 6th round of a 16-team league, I'll take it. Deshaun Watson following that, Darrell Henderson Jr., Hayden Hurst, and then the aforementioned Phillip Lindsay, grabbed by Johnny Game Time Hicks. Do you like that one? I'd feel good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't feel super confident in it because it's my RB2 right now. We'll see how I can steer this ship out of these rocky rapids. But I will say, I was thinking about going J.K. Dobbins there, but like you said, I mean, I'm a full believer in Mark Ingram. A lot of people are off of Mark Ingram, but I think that we're, as a fantasy community, writing him off a little too early. And so I think that if J.K. Dobbins, if anything happens to the Mark Ingram, yeah, definitely you're going to want J.K. Dobbins, but something's going to happen then. I needed another running back. Philip Lindsay, to me, though, you look at what this guy, I understand that they brought in Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon is going to be the touchdown guy. That's what they want. But I'm telling you, Philip Lindsay is such a good and underrated running back. People don't give him enough respect. And sixth round in a 16-teamer is pretty. I don't know. I don't do a lot of 16-team mock drafts, to be honest with you. So I don't know if that's tremendous value, but I know generally in a 12-team PPR mock draft, you can get him in the 10th round, and I think that's tremendous value for a guy that I truly believe they'll use between the 20s quite often. He will be the pass catching running back, and he's the Thunder. Or he's the Lightning to Melvin Gordon, who I believe they want to be the Thunder there. So I like Philip Lindsay.
I like Philip Lindsay too. I think it's a tremendous value. One of those things where the load between Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay could actually end up being a lot closer than people are anticipating right now. And if you get that Philip Lindsay, then it's going to be a real bargain.
And
After
let's
that
be honest,
pick,
it's like, and let's be honest, like Melvin Gordon always misses at least 4 games a year anyway. So it's like
when he's not holding out.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
Will Fuller off the board, followed by Marvin Jones Jr. and Keyshawn Vaughn, taken by Fantasy Football Fortune. Julian Edelman gone, and our boy Big Travie taking Darren Waller, tight end out of the Las Vegas Raiders. We get to officially say that now. Las Vegas Raiders. Good to see him over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a steal. Darren Waller was, I remember in our league of record last year, Darren Waller was Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last pick taken in the entire league, and he was one of the best tight ends in the league as well. Love when you can grab those guys. I don't think Darren Waller is going to have any signs of slowing down this year. Love that tight end grab, Travie.
He actually should.
Thanks.
He should be better, right? Like he, in theory, with
he's just only growing in that offense. We should see that still be a focal point of Gruden's offense. And regardless of quarterback, like even if Mariota has to see the field, we know Mariota can get it to a tight end at least. I mean, that may be the only person he can get it to. So I kind of like Waller's outlook as far as a safe option. Was looking at Evan Ingram there, but Evan Ingram's injury history just scares me. I do love his upside though.
Listen
what do
here,
we call
brother.
Evan Ingram now? The new Jordan Reed.
Yeah,
I can't get that comp out of my head.
Listen here, brother. My offense runs through the tight end position. I need you to be a good tight end.
Yeah, pretty much.
And a good tight end John Gruden will have. Watch me count down from 99 to 1 with count of 3, 99, 96, 93, 90, 87, 84, 81, 78, 70. I'll stop right there. But Darius Slayton, the number 1 dog for Daniel Dimes out of the Giants, followed by J.K. Dobbins. Alexander Madison's gone. Kerryon Johnson, Deebo Samuel, and Easy Daddy now is making his the last pick in the 6th round. We'll see where he goes right now. I mean, I'm really liking these 16-team drafts. It's getting us an opportunity to see more players in the NFL that are involved. A lot of the guys that we'd be seeing going in the double-digit rounds are being taken in round 6, making you think a little bit more, trying to dig a little deeper and find some value and find some opportunity, because you got to.
Hey, I just want to – that's a great point. I love that you brought that up. I do want to ask you guys. I've been thinking about this all day, and you're going to laugh. You're going to be, why are you thinking about this all day? But the NFL has already canceled 2 preseason games. What is going to happen with the Hard Knocks documentary that they do? Because generally a lot of the episode make up what happened in the game and then like players being cut. So it'll be interesting. And I was wondering what you guys think that they will fill that time with, or do you think they'll eventually just cancel Hard Knocks?
I don't know. Maybe they'll do like a Zoom version. They'll do like a Zoom version of Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
just go inside and do, video interviews with people in their homes. I don't really know. I wouldn't be shocked at anything, and I'm so pissed right now because I've waited on guys and they just keep getting snatched.
Yeah, dude, we don't have computers drafting with this anymore. It's people who actually all know who we like. So No
Speaking
easy.
of guys who people like, we saw Antonio Gibson close out the 6th. Easy Daddy started his. Next up was Zach Moss, which gives him the Buffalo backfield. He took Devin Singletary in the 1st. Damn, way to go, Easy Daddy. You're kicking ass this draft. Deontay Johnson, followed by Jamison Crowder, Tony Pollard, Tariq Cohen, Chase Edmonds. Which one of your guys just got swooped up, Big Travie? Was it
I
Crowder?
should have used that time. No, it was Deontay Johnson. So doing the profiles for the draft kit, I found out that we're just a couple years removed from 2 players getting 160 plus targets in that Pittsburgh offense. One of those players was Juju Smith-Schuster, of course. The other was Antonio Brown. And while I'm not saying Deontay Johnson is Antonio Brown, he's pretty much the same height, has a lot of the same skill set, and can be used in a lot of the same ways as Antonio Brown in this offense. And so I was really hoping to bide my time and grab Deontay Johnson. I think he is a steal in drafts right now, especially if Big Ben comes back. Now, presumably, Big Ben has to be healthy. Of course, we get that. This is a Tommy John surgery. This is a very serious injury. But we've seen video of him being ready. We've seen Juju saying that he's ready. Deontay Johnson is a very skilled wide receiver last year, led all wide receivers in receptions last year from rookies at 59 receptions last year, was still good with a hot garbage quarterback situation in Pittsburgh last year. Deontay Johnson is being slept on, and so I just think that Whisper Nation should know about it, and clearly J.R. Lacka knows about it because he drafted him there in the 7th. That was a great pick.
Here's my question for you, Travis. Because I do think Deontay Johnson is a really good value, especially in the 7th round here. But he is starting to creep up in a lot of drafts and into
Rightfully so. I think he
8th
should
and
creep up.
9th. Okay, so here's my question to you. A lot of people, there are some people that believe that Deontay Johnson is this year's Curtis Samuel, and that the hype is starting to get to a point where, he showed this great flash as a rookie, did it with hot garbage. I agree with that. But then, he starts to become overdraft because, a month ago.
Yeah. Sure, the Panthers are not the Steelers when they draft wide receivers. The Steelers have historically drafted wide receivers really well. Big Ben, as far as a pure passer, is not the same as Cam Newton or whoever backed Cam Newton up when Cam Newton got hurt in Carolina, for Curtis Samuel's argument. So for me, yeah, I could get it why you want to compare him to somebody who was, a hot flash and then petered out. I like everything that's around Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh, the pedigree of him as a player, the pedigree of the GMs that draft, or the GM that drafts wide receivers in Pittsburgh, and the quarterback play. For me, as long as Big Ben is healthy, Deontay Johnson is one of those breakout wide receiver candidates for me.
So, great breakdown on Deontay Johnson. Definitely an up-and-comer player that you might be able to get as a steal because he wasn't a big name yet. And he was, as far as the rookies go, yeah, he performed really well, but he didn't get maybe as much credit as you would have expected him to see, from the DK Metcalfs, Terry McLaurin's, and of course AJ Brown's last year. So yeah, I really like that. That's a good breakdown, Big Travie. Then we saw. Go ahead, Johnny Gangon.
I did want to ask him what are your thoughts on James Washington?
Love James Washington. I like his talent too, but it looks like James Washington is actually ceding snaps to some of the other wide receivers there.
Okay.
So he won't even be a starter if both Juju and Deontay are healthy. You're going to see Barry Switzer work in the slot more, and you're going to see James Washington come in and work down the sideline. So for me, love James Washington, and I actually liked him better as a wide receiver prospect than Deontay Johnson. But Johnson has proved to be a big role in this offense with whoever's playing quarterback.
I would also, just the last point there from me on Deontay Johnson is I think everybody is expecting a bounce back year for Juju Smith-Schuster, but let's say that he actually ends up being one of these, had a really good start to his career and then just kind of fizzled it out, and he ends up becoming more of the 2, the 3, the guy who's regressing. That then is going to open up a lot, and Deontay Johnson's in that position to take up all of that opportunity if it comes his way. Kind of reminds me like a Marvin Jones Jr. and a Kenny Golladay back.
Based on contract, they could get rid of Juju after this year. They could basically say we're done
with
Juju and move on.
They already said they weren't going to renew his contract. They already said that.
So we're looking at a situation where Juju could be gone. So why not see what you have in the other guys and push other guys to the top of that depth chart?
Well, and then then there are also they're moving that. But Pimpin' Ain't Easy just wanted to let Travis know that he said Hardman is better than Johnson. That's what Pimpin' Ain't Easy said.
Sure,
So.
McCole Hardman has a lot more competition around him than Deontay Johnson does, for sure.
We all know what Mecole Hardman could do. But
I mean, McCole Hardman's super good and super fast, but he's got to get Tyreek Hill out of the way before he's going to be a consistent fantasy football producer. I will say that he could usurp Sammy Watkins, but still, that would be the third option in a passing offense.
So I want to ask the two of you. I just took my first pick here. I'm at the turn. I took Damian Harris to pair up along with Sony Michel, so I've hopefully got that early down backfield in the New England situation held up, barring anything from Rex Burkhead. But now my question is, I'm looking at two wide receivers that I'm really excited about right now this late. It's two guys who are dealing with a new quarterback who are probably going to be the number one, or at least in Big Mike Williams' case, has a shot to be that number one. Keenan Allen, I think, benefited a lot from Phillip Rivers and his style of play. Mike Williams is coming into that time of his career. He's got that prototypical build. Tyrod Taylor's the new man in charge for now. So I like that. But so it's between Mike Williams and the other one is N'Keal Harry, who I think is going to be benefiting a lot from Cam Newton. And which one would you take, Johnny?
You put me on side. I would probably go N'Keal Harry based on the Cam.
What about you,
Newton
Travi?
thing.
I'm taking Mike Williams.
And I was going. I took N'Keal Harry. I like Mike Williams. I'm getting a lot of New England this year.
The yards per attempt for Mike Williams is off the charts in his whole career there. He just hasn't put it together consistently. But in N'Keal Harry, who I love, I think he's going to do well with Cam Newton. We just haven't seen it yet. Mike Williams, we've at least seen it. So I would trust Mike Williams a little bit more and Tyrod Taylor before I'm going to trust N'Keal Harry and Cam Newton's shoulder. But
I like that.
Love both the players.
I will say that Cam Newton has brought along wide receivers very, very well,
100%.
and Calvin
100%.
Benjamin. But I will say that Travis has more closely looked at this situation over the last few days than I have, so I would trust his advice. And if he a little bit more than where I stand right now, because Mike Williams is someone that I want to take a second look at, but I have not yet been able to. And so Mike Williams is definitely someone that I am coming around as he's someone I'm intrigued with. But who can, look at N'Keal Harry and you can't look at that picture and not get hyped of N'Keal Harry with Cam Newton.
Let's remind folks, N'Keal Harry was the first wide receiver taken off the board 2 years ago in the entire draft class. The man was hurt pretty much all year. We never got to see what he was about, and he's playing in a very established system with established wide receivers. It's coming in now we got Stidham or we got Cam Newton, who's going to be throwing the ball, and the number 2 wide receiver is Julian Edelman, who does an amazing job, an amazing player, work ethic, skill set, all of the things that he's doing there. But if we're talking about raw talent, we all know what N'Keal Harry brings to the table. He's healthy, coming in with a new quarterback. Either way, I think the sky could be the limit for a guy with that kind of draft pedigree, that kind of skill set, and the opportunity that he's looking at facing ahead. We just don't know, which is why he's still going late. But I think he got a dirty diamond maybe there and hiding as a rock.
Dirty diamond. Like that.
You like that?
That's a good phrase. Look, like I said before, I think that N'Keal Harry is a great pick. I think both of those guys are a toss-up there based on pure upside. Just would have leaned a little bit towards Mike Williams based on what we've seen, but the upside is definitely more in N'Keal Harry's favor.
I think if I could go back, I'd probably take Mike Williams instead, just because of how much New England offense I now have over here, and Big Mike Williams is my goodness. That guy just impressed me all the time, and he was hurt last year the majority of the season with a back issue, and if he's coming in healthy and is the favorite target of whichever quarterback is chucking the ball, that's a low-end wide receiver 1, as far as I'm concerned. CeeDee Lamb was taken after N'Keal Harry, Deshaun Jackson, Jerry Jeudy. Johnny Game Time grabbed A.J. Dillon, Travis boy over there, and Duke Johnson was taken by the Cat's Pajamas. Another consideration of mine. It's a fun thing to say. Cat's Pajamas.
Yeah, I know it is.
And Cat's Pajamas, please join us every single draft so I can just go ahead and get to say your username, Cat's Pajamas.
I was hoping Mike Williams, after how much we talked about him, would have been there for me.
Big Travi almost talked me into going with BMW there, but still, I'm not quite sure. There was somebody else that I also like and wide receivers just so deep, and I was looking at the running back position, and man, it is already starting to get skeleton bones there. So I needed to grab one more guy that I can at least be able to throw in my RB2 position if needed on certain weeks. And A.J. Dillon gives me a shot at a touchdown, I feel, each and every single week with the Green Bay Packers. I feel like that's where they're going to use him the most, is the goal line. And why not? The guy is monstrous. And so give me A.J. Dillon in the 8th.
I mean, we saw the pure touchdown upside that Aaron Jones had in that offense when he was given the reins. The idea is now that they're going to have a 1-2 punch, and a legitimate one, not the Jamal Williams, 1-2 punch light, if you will, or the diet 1-2 punch that they had with Jamal Williams. They're going to have a significant one here that, that LaFleur wants, who comes from the Shanahan tree.
Right, the 1-2. What the hell are you thinking? LaFleur punch.
Hey, and
we call it that.
And call me crazy, but like I'm projecting A.J. Dillon to get 10 touchdowns this season.
I will call you a little crazy.
You're
That's
crazy.
Well,
well, what I want to say, the Jamal Williams one is a guy who you can tell by my draft I like to invest in backfield. The Packers backfield was the one I was able to grab up last year, and Jamal Williams played his best season hands down last year. But that dude does not run very well. Like, he makes opportunities, but we wrote an article a couple of years ago. I said that man's feet are as slow as trying to stream Netflix on a Windows 95 operating system. It just doesn't really go down the way that you're hoping it does, but he still continues to get the work. And it just reminds me of like a mom who's got 2 kids, and one kid is clearly more talented than the other kid, but she really believes in like equally distributing love, because that's what we do in this family, and gives the inferior child too many opportunities to not score touchdowns. And that's just the way I feel about it. I think A.J. Dillon, though, coming in along with Aaron Jones could be really, really nice, and Jamal Williams could be relegated then to a pure just spell them, everybody else is dead, fine, go play type of role.
Everybody else is dead.
Gosh. Brutal.
Golden Tate. Big Travie grabbed Golden Tate.
Wow, I'm surprised we still have 17 viewers here. Yeah.
Well, shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys joining. It's a huge boost for us every Monday night to do this, and you guys are in here watching and commenting. It's huge for us. We appreciate the support. Make sure you guys hit like and let us know you guys are watching. Maybe drop a comment there. Yeah.
Speaking of comments, Brandon S., he's been asking a couple of things here. He says, would have gone Williams. Yeah, me too, but you only live once and the time ran out. But I think what you're saying here. He said, would you be looking to get Hyde if you drafted Carson? Now, I'll just say from my point of view, I have 2 backfields. I have 2 guys from Miami and 2 guys from New England. So, yeah, for me, I'd probably be aiming to do that, but I think that's probably pretty predictable. What do you think, Game Time? What do you think, Big Travie?
I don't think Carlos Hyde is very good. So I won't be doing Carlos Hyde. I would actually prefer, even though Rashad Penny will probably start the year on IR, I would rather have Rashad Penny, because like when you watch game film and you watch Rashad Penny play, he's pretty explosive. Like he looks
5 yards
good
per carry.
Yeah, he
Nearly
looks
5 yards
good.
per carry. Yeah, he is good. Johnny, I love that you brought this up. I wrote the profiles today for Seattle, and my point was this: Carlos Hyde was a depth piece that they brought in to ensure, while Penny came back from injury, that Chris Carson would be okay. And so that's where they're kind of at with that. And I think that Hyde, while he will be a handcuff for a couple weeks, as soon as Penny's back, Penny will resume his spot as the number 1 guy behind Chris Carson in this offense.
You know what? I actually go ahead. I'm going to take back what I said on investing in that, because this is one of those situations. Travis, you're totally right. I think the backup, the handcuff, Johnny too, it's a little bit unclear right now in Seattle of who's going to be that person. Is it DJ Dallas? Is it Hyde? Is it Penny? When it's all shaken out, it's like, we know Carson's going to get that lead shot, but after him, it might as well kind of be a crapshoot. So for me, this actually might be one of those things. If I'm going to grab Carson and just kind of let the rest of the chips fall where they will, almost like a Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas over there, because like, it's going to be him, but then behind him, like, it's really a different situation if that lead dog falls off, and then it's a total committee and guesswork at that point. So that might be one of the situations where I'm actually not playing with their handcuff, just because there might actually not be one handcuff.
Yeah, that's one of the situations. If you're going to take a handcuff, which statistics prove that we don't often know who the handcuff is, you better be darn sure that you have the handcuff. And so if you are going to handcuff your guy, make sure you know that without a shadow of a doubt, as much as you can in this game, that you've got the opportunity at the guy there. I'm going to do this, and it's disgusting, and I hate it. I'm going to plug my nose. But I'm taking Alshon Jeffrey here in the 9th. I needed wide receiver depth. He's my 4th wide receiver. And it's
Leading
just
wide receiver for the Eagles, baby.
Right now, he restructured his deal last year, so he got himself into a friendly contract that they couldn't get rid of. So they basically have to keep him on the roster because it would have been a dead cap hit. He's coming back from Liz Frank and a hip injury. Austin knows better than most people what it's like to have Alshon Jeffrey on your roster. It's a headache. But listen, if I need to get somebody that has a path to a number 1 wide receiver, Jeffrey's sitting here in the 9th round as a guy that has a path to being the number 1 wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. If he somehow has a magical, healthy career this year, he'll have that main vein.
Al, I could talk. I'm not going to talk about Alshon Jeffrey as long as I could, but he is on my dynasty team. I've had Alshon Jeffrey on my squads back when he was a receiver for the Bears. Okay, Alshon Jeffrey's talent is crazy, but this dude is like now.
You mean back when he was good?
This dude now is like a transformer who has not been attending his maintenance regular scheduled appointments. This guy looks like freaking Optimus Prime if you took all of the joints and replaced them with just like rocks. This guy moves so lumbering up and down the field, but he is still the number 1 wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles.
If you replace Optimus Prime with rocks, aren't they already made out of steel? So wouldn't he just be like?
No, but the joints, there's no mobility.
Okay, all right.
It's like, yeah, take all of the moving parts
out.
and make them stagnant. Yeah. So when he's playing, the dude is good, and Carson Wentz does throw him the ball in the end zone, and sometimes Alshon Jeffrey catches it. He gets more opportunities than he deserves, for sure. And he gets those opportunities, and if he's healthy, he's going to keep getting those opportunities. And then also say behind him, we know we got Deshaun Jackson, but after that, for me, I think Greg Ward is the best receiver to take after that. Even you got Jalen Reagor, you got Arcega Whiteside, you got Marquise Goodwin now over there. It's such a freaking crapshoot. Alshon Jeffrey to me and Deshaun Jackson are basically the only 2 that you could feel pretty good with. And Alshon Jeffrey, if he's playing, he's going to be getting some opportunities.
Little insight to the draft kit kind of showed me that both the tight ends last year finished as top 10 tight ends for Philly, which means, Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz probably have a more secure role than any other wide receiver on the roster as far as receiving work in that offense. So be on the lookout for Dallas Goedert. Could be even usable in single tight end leagues.
Very much so. After that Alshon Jeffrey pick, we saw the 49ers defense off the board, the first one, and my dynasty team. Love to see that. Hunter Henry, tight end for the Chargers, is gone. So is Rob Gronkowski, tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cat's Pajamas took Hunter Renfrow, and Game Time just grabbed Tyrell Williams. I like that pick, Johnny. Damn. That's a sneaky one.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't like it.
I wanted Hunter Renfrow because listen, hold on.
Over Tyrell Williams?
Really?
Okay, hear me out. No. This is why I say this is why I say this. It was on the same thing. Like Tyrell Williams quietly, like if you look at what his week-to-week production was when he was healthy and playing, he was a solid wide receiver. Clearly, they go out, they draft and bring in a bunch of wide receivers as well. And so Hunter Renfrow is one of those guys, that you heard some news and stuff from week to week and stuff, and he had some nice flashes. So you would say, why would you choose Hunter Renfrow? And it sounds weird, but I've heard a lot in like really deep Twitter branches of like NFL players that are like in tune with, they talk to one another, and Hunter Renfrow's name keeps coming up, which makes me think that like they all know something.
Because those are all fake accounts by John Gruden over there talking about
how
Hunter
I think that
Renfrow's
and this isn't just because he's got an old man face and a receding hairline, which he does, but
and a dad bod.
Hunter Renfrow to me is like the Alex Caruso of the NFL.
He's definitely the Alex Caruso.
Well, like he looks just like him, right? Like he straight up looks just like him, and he's got the body of a shorter Tom Brady. Like there's nothing impressive about the stature of Hunter Renfrow. There's really not that much impressive about his stats or the way he plays. or why Johnny would want him on his team. But I think that he's his fan favorite. People love him. He shows up. He works hard. He does all this stuff. He does have a body like a 4-year-old with no shading abilities would draw, and like people just like him. Kind of like, but he can't dunk the same way Alex Caruso does. But I think he's kind of like a fan favorite.
I will say
I'm gonna
that
stop talking about.
so Josh Allen and then Jared Cook went 2 after my team extreme. I did think about going Jared Cook. I think Jared Cook is a very solid tight end that people are kind of not really talking about or sleeping on. He has been very, very consistent, especially over the last 2 years, and I expect that to continue with the Saints. I mean, he was a top 7 tight end. The only reason I didn't take him here was because I don't think he can make the jump and be a top 3 tight end, a top 4 tight end. Unlike some of these other tight ends that are still available, that you can possibly get a little bit later. And so that is why I didn't take Jared Cook there. But I certainly thought about it. But yeah. I don't know why I felt
pick.
so
I want to ask you
inclined
guys
to say
about this
that.
one.
Go ahead.
I want to switch gears a little bit here. I've got 30 seconds left on my second pick. It's a long time till I'm picking again. 32 more picks until it. And I'm looking over at the quarterbacks, and there's a couple of guys that, you know, you can always pick a quarterback late. But right now, we know a guy who's still buried below in the ADP because we haven't had enough time to catch it up. And I'm thinking about Cam Newton. Do I go ahead and complete this New England offense and take Cam Newton and just have it all locked up? Is that a high enough upside this late to take a stab on a guy who could be a top 5 quarterback? The answer is yes.
No,
I don't mind the pick here. I just wouldn't have
that.
taken him there. I feel like you could have waited on Cam here, but like you said, the ADP's got him buried, so you likely could not have waited. If we fast forward this a month or two, based on his ADP then. So, for the sake of that argument, yeah, I love the pick, Cam Newton. I think he's got a tremendous upside in this offense, and he's hungry this year. He's just got to stay healthy.
I was thinking about Carson Wentz. He was really close for me. But I'm just going to go fun and take the upside of a Cam Newton in a Bill Belichick system.
I don't see that Carson Wentz has the upside Cam Newton does at this point. Not with so many question marks in the receiving room and what's going on in Philly over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is exactly where Cam Newton will start going once we are closer to actual drafts. Cam Newton will go right after Josh Allen. And honestly, I have no problem if you kind of take him before Josh Allen or Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, I think, will have a very solid year. Always passes for a ton. But you're right. Like, I am speaking of, hearing inner circles talking about Hunter Renfrow. A lot of inner circles are talking about Cam Newton and Bill Belichick together and how scary of a combo that is going to be. I really like Cam Newton this year. I'm getting, more excited and more excited about Cam Newton. And it's looking like probably not going to be able to get him in as a value in many of my leagues this year. Majority of my leagues, you two are in them, and so yeah,
it's definitely going to be a name that keeps climbing up as more news comes out about this. I think everybody's still, you're seeing those news about Stidham still might be the guy, but as soon as we get that Roto World update that says Cam Newton is slotted to be the starting quarterback under Bill Belichick's offense in the 2020 season, it's bam, this guy is now. Now you're saying, oh, Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers. Cam Newton maybe a little bit after Deshaun Watson. Like, I think that's where he probably ends up stacking up right there. Carson Wentz was taken after Jalen Samuels, followed by Curtis Samuel, and Johnny Gametime Hicks grabbed our boy Allen Lazard, wide receiver 2 out of Green Bay, the 6'5" walk-on, who is now the number 2 option for quarterback Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I thought about going Allen Lazard, honestly, in the 9th round. I thought about it once Hunter Renfrow came off the board. But then, luck have it, he fell to the next round. Sometimes it works out like that, so I'll take him. I know that I have A.J. Dillon, but again, I'm not heavily invested in A.J. Dillon, so I feel okay with taking Allen Lazard. Now, I don't see a major season for Allen Lazard. I don't see over 1,000 receiving yards for Allen Lazard. So I'll be honest with that. But I certainly see, a 8 to 900 yards receiving, and certainly, 5 with his height, talking about his height, I honestly could see 5 to 7 touchdowns wouldn't shock me. For a guy like we've seen Aaron Rodgers, if he likes you, he'll find a way to get you the ball. So
They
that's
brought
what I
James
say.
Jones out of retirement off the street in a hoodie while playing football, and he
Yeah.
scored multiple touchdowns and was a
I think he had
fantasy.
14 that year.
Yeah,
actually.
he was a touchdown monster and scored all over the place. So, like I said, or like Johnny was saying, if he likes you, he will get you the ball, almost in spite of his coaching staff. Actually, he has
Yeah.
done it in spite of his coaching.
After the Allen Lazard pick, we saw Paris Campbell. I like that one. Taken by the Cat's Pajamas. Matt Stafford off the board. FF Fortune selected Denzel Mims. Speaking of the Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, the legend himself, was taken by a Boomerang Steal. And Big Travy's now on the clock with his 10th round pick following that amazing Alshon Jeffrey selection in the 9th round. I tried to do that straight faced. I did. God, that man just has
Amazing. It
hurt me
was an
so
amazing
much.
pick. Thank you.
Yeah. Daniel Jones. That's going to be your quarterback in this mock draft. You feeling Danny Dimes, huh?
He was
Yeah.
wanting Matthew Stafford. I know he was.
I like Matthew Stafford, but these are the quarterbacks that Daniel Jones threw more touchdowns over in 2019, and he only played in 13 games. Phillip Rivers, Jared Goff, and your boy Kyler Murray, Johnny. He threw more touchdowns than those players. He threw as many touchdowns as Tom Brady last year, and he added 303 rushing yards. If we're looking at the quarterbacks that are left here, he's got the touchdown upside. You look at the passing attempts last year, only 5 teams threw more times than the New York Giants. I'm sorry, 6 teams threw more times than the New York Giants last year. So he's got the upside to throw it all over the field. And this team is low-key stacked with pass catchers. Evan Ingram, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. They've got weapons. Saquon Barkley. So if you're looking at a guy who's got upside to finish as a top 5, top 6 at the position, and you're this late in the draft, I'm looking at Daniel Jones as one of my late quarterback plays this year as a guy with huge upside.
The way he plays the game, I mean, he hits me kind of like a Josh Allen in an offense that's more high-powered. You gotta run first,
He's
defensive
got better
driven.
intangibles too than Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen's probably going to be a better deep ball thrower, and he's going to be a better scrambler than Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones has more bread in his basket as far as passes as an NFL quarterback than Josh Allen.
I want to say about Daniel Jones, and this is contrary to his demeanor with the button-down Oxford shirt played out of he's from Duke. Just like the most boring freaking looking guy, most vanilla wafer man, LaCroix in a human form dude like I've ever seen. But
the
he
human
plays,
can of LaCroix.
yeah, what's your flavor of LaCroix you're drinking? Oh, it's khaki. Yeah, okay, that's like Daniel. That's Daniel Jones. He's khaki flavored LaCroix, but the man's got some moxie to him. Like he
At least
freaking
on the
straight up
field,
like, yeah, he does. Like you watch him target the pylon, and he turns into Cam Newton in these spaces, and he runs with the swagger too. Like he gets turned on, and all of a sudden, this totally different side of Daniel Jones comes out, and it's fun to watch. And I think that's a fine late round selection there by Trav. It's gonna be fun to watch too, especially if you're a Giants fan. I'd really like that. Which you're not, so it has no relation. But following the Daniel Jones pick, we saw Austin Hooper, tight end for the Browns. That value is probably going up. I want to ask you guys, does David Njoku have any impact on Austin Hooper's value if he stays on the team or he leaves? How do you kind of factor this in? They went out and got him, but David Njoku is no slouch. He's been hurt, but he is getting put back, and he's requesting a trade. What do you guys think about this dynamic in Cleveland?
Well, if you know anything about the offense that is going to be ran there, and Travis can help me with that. I always mess up the name, but
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, thank you. He is known for running a more run-heavy offense than the wide receivers because they're more generally one-on-one. Vikings. Think of the Minnesota Vikings. That's where he came from. So Alexander Madison, Dalvin Cook. You think of Adam Thielen and what he did, Stephon Diggs and what he did, right? And this offense generally will not support 2 tight ends. It might support 1. and that's why you're starting to see Austin Hooper fall a little bit because he was, going above Hunter Henry and Rob Gronkowski. I think Austin Hooper will be fine. There was a reason why Njoku wanted out because he wasn't going to be used in the passing game very often, and I think he knew that, and that's where he excels, and so I think that's why he requested a trade. And so I'm excited to see where he'll go. There are a few rumors, maybe New England, maybe Arizona. Both of those would be very, very intriguing. But I think it doesn't matter if Njoku stays or leaves.
Matter.
Because I think it'll be a little bit of a boost, obviously, if Njoku leaves, because then it's like, okay, Austin Hooper they paid him. They're going to go to him. Because the next guy that they have in line isn't as well polished as a tight end. So, yeah.
It's hard to negate those points. Following the Austin Hooper pick off the board, Randall Cobb, Darrynton Evans, Tom Brady, Mike Gesicki is gone, as is Noah Fant. That closes out the 10th round. Starting off the 11th, Easy Daddy picks up Baker Mayfield, followed by Joshua Kelly, a rookie running back out of the Chargers backfield. Jonnu Smith, Dallas Goedert is gone.
Austin, I think when you are too close to the mic with your headphones, I think it's causing a popping.
Oh, is it popping on you?
Yeah. Okay, you're good now. I think it's when you lean too close to the microphone. The headphones are... There you go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks for the heads up there. So Joshua Kelly, he's gone now. Jonnu Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jerick McKinnon off the board. Baltimore Ravens defense. James Washington grabbed by Big Travie. Dede Westbrook is off the board as well in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Big Travie, were you thinking at all about Jerick McKinnon, who was taking a couple of picks before, the third-ish running back over there in San Francisco?
I did take a peek at Jerick McKinnon, but I have another idea for a running back stash here later on that I kind of like the upside a little bit more than McKinnon, who might have to fight off multiple guys to get the role. If this guy's still there for me in round 12, I'll snag him. We'll be able to talk about it.
Oh, I know what guy you're talking about. Oh, I know what guy you're talking about.
Either way, though, I did look at McKinnon. So I looked at him actually a couple rounds ago because I thought, it might be nice to pair him up. But not a huge fan of your strategy to handcuff unless, especially in a situation with San Francisco where you have no idea who the handcuff really is. You have no idea who the starting running back is. You have no idea if they have any running backs. They might put Deebo Samuel in at running back. So that's just kind of my concern with handcuffing at this point.
Yeah, I heard that Jimmy Garoppolo was getting a little bit of work with the backup running backs as well. So you really never know.
Shanahan said
going to be doing.
Shanahan said he would like to run 3 times as many plays as he passes. So, I think he's just ridiculous.
And he meant himself, like he's going to put on a helmet, and Kyle Shanahan's going to become the third.
John Lynch is going to come down from the GM booth and take fullback snaps.
Oh, I would draft John Lynch. If that man stepped down, I still remember in Madden football, when the first time the icons came out, he got that hammer icon, and when he would hit people, the ball would go flying. I would love to see.
And the screen would shake. It was great.
The screen would shake. My Xbox lit on fire one time when I hit
Johnny
somebody
with pissed off from Austin hitting him with John Lynch. He'd shake the screen. He'd get so mad.
He did. It was amazing. So good.
Oh, look at this value on TJ Hawkinson by Johnny in the 11th. Love that.
Pick. So great. I will.
People sleep on TJ Hawkinson,
dude. Yeah, definitely.
Jack Doyle right before him. I thought was a huge snag too.
So I was looking at Jack. I was either gonna go Jack Doyle or TJ Hawkinson with this pick. Nice, and I'm getting right in the middle of this tight end run, which is nice. Never like to end it. Anyways, Jack Doyle, I tweeted this out the other day. I don't know why he's not getting talked about more. I broke it down, but basically, Hunter Henry, everyone was so high on Hunter Henry last year, taking him as the, in the 6th round. Hunter Henry, 7th tight end off the board. And Hunter Henry ended up finishing as the tight end 9 last year. Well, Jack Doyle was, he ended up finishing as the tight end 11, which isn't like significant, as far as tight ends go. But you got to realize you're getting Phillip Rivers, who throws to the tight end position. So, Jack Doyle is going oftentimes off way beyond any other tight end. Usually tight end, 19 off the board, tight end 20. And so that's a huge value for you. You can get, up to tight end 9 in theory, right? So love Jack Doyle, but TJ Hawkinson, talk about a guy who will be getting targeted heavily in an offense that looks to be, a lot of 12 personnel is TJ Hawkinson. I expect big things from TJ Hawkinson this year, and I'm sure Big Travi could tell you even more about TJ Hawkinson.
I mean, just TJ Hawkinson was one of the best prospected tight ends coming out of the draft last year and had his season cut short by injury in a year that saw Matt Stafford poised to be, top 4 at the position at quarterback. So if they continue to have a bad defense, which newsflash, they haven't really improved their defense that much. And 2, they, are going to rely on Kenny Golladay and then maybe, TJ Hawkinson to rely on in this passing attack. Hawkinson in the 11th is a steal. We know how long it takes usually we know it usually takes the next year or even year 3 sometimes for tight ends to emerge. This is year 2 for Hawkinson, and he's a talent. He should be drafted as such, as a guy that could definitely break out at the position.
When you were looking at him coming out, reiterating what you said there about Hawkinson's prospect coming out as a rookie, this is the kind of player who you look at him, you're like, okay, it's a ridiculous thing to say a Rob Gronkowski comparison. He's not like that, but this is one of those like enormous freaking monster type dudes
Agile.
who is agile, plays like a receiver, but has the size of a tight end, or even he's like a LeBron James kind of size dude over here, who's agile, who's fast, who's big, really big, and he's in that position where he's going to get the opportunity. And I mean, with Matt Stafford, yeah, Kenny Golladay is over there. He's going to be doing his thing. But TJ Hawkinson, I think he has a real opportunity to be Matt Stafford's number 2 choice and one of the best tight end prospects, especially considering how late you got him behind all kinds of other guys. This could be one of those tight ends. Like we talked about Darren Waller being a big steal of last year. TJ Hawkinson could be this year's type of Darren Waller as far as I'm concerned. Closing out after TJ Hawkinson, we went Blake Jarwin, other tight end, was gone. Kenny Stills, the Patriots defense, and I went ahead and grabbed Raekwon Armstead, backup running back in Jacksonville, as well as the Buffalo Bills defense to start off the 12th round. Eric Ebron was taken afterwards, followed by Carlos Hyde. He's been getting a lot of airtime on this episode. And Jalen Richard, setting up Johnny Game Time's 12th round pick, picking someone to pair along now with TJ Hawkinson, and he pairs up another tight end, Irv Smith Jr. out of Minnesota. 2 tight ends, Johnny. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm going to be heavily implementing this strategy this year in my drafts. If I don't grab one of the early tight ends, the top 3, Kittle, Kelsey, or Mark Andrews, which I generally don't grab, but if I don't grab those, I will be grabbing 2 late round dart throw tight ends. There are a lot back here that I certainly like, and I mean, in this last, Mike Gesicki, super big fan of. Noah Fant is interesting. Jonnu Smith, I think, has a very, very high upside to be top 5 tight end this year. Jack Doyle, we talked about being a top 10. TJ Hawkinson step up. Blake Jarwin's in a conversation. And Irv Smith is definitely another one in that conversation. So I like grabbing 2 of these late round dart throw tight ends and just seeing if one of them happens to be a tight end 7 or better, and if not, I can drop one. But that's what I like. So I took that strategy. I was looking at the running back position, but honestly, there is barely anything there, and so I feel
some things there.
There are some things there, I do admit, but I think that I thought Irv Smith would definitely get taken before the other prospects that I have a little later.
Pretty good about grabbing late round tight ends in all the many years I've been playing fantasy football with you. I remember Zach Ertz taken years ago before he was a name. There's been a handful of selections where you've had a pretty good sniffer for tight ends. So Irv Smith, TJ Hawkinson on Game Time's board, and pay attention to those. Rock Lee in our YouTube chat says, I like TJ as my upside bench tight end. Yeah, that's pretty good. Rock Lee also liked Travis's response to Brandon's comment earlier, who said, y'all sold me on Daniel Jones. The LaCroix, khaki LaCroix. LaCroix khaki, that's the one. Travis says,
except for this. Well, no, Brandon said except for the start of his schedule, which is true. He's got a rough start of the schedule. I said, the first 4 weeks are brutal, but maybe COVID can screw up the defenses to start, and then I'll have a shot at, not screw them up as they die or anything.
It's like get them with a viral disease that causes their lungs to explode.
No.
Wow.
I meant like
That's
just the planning of activities. They don't need
Yeah.
to actually be sick. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, just to mess up the game plans a little bit. We saw following Irv Smith Jr., number 1 pick of this year's draft. Joe Burrow is off the board, taken by the Cat's Pajamas. Kirk Cousins was taken right after that, followed by Adrian Peterson and Justin Tucker. First kicker off the board by Boomerang Steel. Can't reach full name. Doesn't give me enough screen to see.
I think it's Boomerang. I think it's Boomerang Steelers, right?
Boomerang Steelers?
Maybe?
Boomerang Steelers.
I don't know. It almost looks like it could be an X behind there.
Yeah, it might be something like that. Maybe we'll get them to tune in there. Speaking of tune in, just want to give a shout out to all 13 other members that are in our live draft right now. Pleasure drafting with all y'all. This is a lot of fun, as well as everybody that we've got in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Thank you for everybody who's been popping in and out of our live stream here. Really appreciate it. If you haven't yet liked and subscribed, be sure to hit that bell, hit that thumbs up, hit whatever trendy icon they're using these days to say, I'm going to pay attention to what these guys are doing. Helps the channel grow, gives us all the endorphin rushes that we need to continue producing daily content that you can check out at thefantasywhispers.com or on our Instagram or on our Twitter, or you can go to Johnny's house in Scottsdale, Arizona and go to his front yard and he'll just talk fantasy football to you. I've done it. It's exhausting.
From 6 feet away.
Of course.
Yeah.
From 6 feet away.
Yes.
You were going to get that notes right there. So then we saw after Justin Tucker, Mohamed Sanu was gone. Reed Tyler took Harrison Butker, like that one. Antonio Gandy Galladay. Golden, excuse me. Zane Gonzalez, Danny Amendola, as we're coming here now to
Jacob
the
Blay
end
with
of...
Zane and the membrane Gonzalez right there. Great pick. I do want to note, I do like the Adrian Peterson pick here in the 12th round. Listen, Adrian Peterson still believes he can rush for over 1,000 yards. And, this guy is like,
There's a lot of things that are questionable that Adrian Peterson has believed in.
Hey,
if we're going to be honest.
Hey, that's fair. But I'm just saying.
Adrian Peterson, though, old man strength is real. Adrian Peterson runs with that pimp. That dude goes, he's taken from an old school version. You see so many guys who step out of bounds, who slide, who avoid the contact, who don't want to get hurt. And that's the right call. I think that type of culture is what we should be moving into. Adrian Peterson's body has taken, I don't want to talk about abuse in Adrian Peterson, but we know what he's saying. Like his body has taken a lot. Idea. You get the karma, you get back what you put out. And so that dude has taken a lot of hits and he still doesn't slow down. He's still here. It's still Adrian Peterson. And we know that if he did get as much opportunity as he would like, he would definitely be breaking 1,000 yards. Like he might be doing it at 3.9 yards per carry, but he could still get you there and make that happen. So especially in this late round, Johnny, I agree. Yeah. As much as I'd hate it.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's just like an odd thing.
So we saw Cole Beasley and then Lynn Bowden Jr. to close out the 12th. I want to take just a second because I'm personally curious about this. In the 12th round, we saw 2 of the backup running backs for the Las Vegas Raiders selected. We saw Lynn Bowden Jr., who's got a wide receiver running back duo coming in right now. Early selection for the Raiders this year out of the draft. They also re-signed Jalen Richard, who has been more of like that third down role. Jalen Washington is out for the Raiders right now, which means that backup running spot behind Josh Jacobs is somewhat up for grab. This is one of those situations that I think doesn't have a clear-cut backup running back, but maybe I'm missing something. Who do you think right now is going to be that backup both for when Josh Jacobs is healthy and God forbid if something happened to Josh Jacobs, who's taking over that early down work in Las Vegas?
So I would say that taking over the early down work, Bowden Jr. has an opportunity to do that. But there's a reason why Las Vegas re-signed Jalen Richard. They trust him with the football in his hands on third down. They like him to be their pass catcher. So I imagine that will still continue to be the case. if anything were to happen to Josh Jacobs. And it actually just kind of proves that maybe Josh Jacobs isn't ready to take on more of the passing down work as we thought, given what they've given to Jalen Richard nominally.
I think that Lynn Bowden will, in his rookie year, will be more of the gadget guy. Because let's remember too, like this guy also was a quarterback. So you're talking around the goal line. I could easily see them bringing him in. I would honestly not be surprised if he has 4 touchdowns this year, something like that, because they bring him in as the gadget play guy. But I don't think you're going to be able to predict it this year. Bowden is someone I'm definitely more intrigued by in Dynasty than I am in redraft. But yeah. And I knew it. I knew that Travis was going to go with it. I let him do his thing. I didn't want to grab him because I let him talk about it. But I knew it. I
really wanted Benny Snell Jr. over Jeff Wilson Jr. Easy Daddy took Benny Snell Jr. at the top of the 13th.
No, you don't. You didn't want that.
I did. Yeah, I actually did.
No.
Benny Snell
Following
Jr.
Benny Snell Jr. pick, backup running back over there in Pittsburgh, the Cowboys defense off the board. Jamal Williams is as well. Corey Davis grabbed by Jacob Blay. Marquise Goodwin is gone, as is T. Higgins, Jeff Wilson Jr., Rex Burkhead, Will Lutz, now taken by Fantasy FF Fortune, setting this one up right now. Let's say a little bit on this backup running back situation. Pittsburgh is another one of those backfields that, as far as I'm concerned, we got James Conner, we know, who's going to at least be starting off, leading the way. Behind him, what should fantasy football players be expecting out of the Steelers backfield?
Well, Johnny can take this one because he doesn't like Benny Snell, so he can go ahead and trash.
I want to hear because
here's the deal: in 5 of 8 of the final games last year, Benny Snell got over 16 carries in that offense. In an offense that was really bad. So a lot of his efficiency can be attributed to the fact he had 16 carries a game. He was their starting running back.
Yeah, but what did he do in those games? Like, where did he finish? And what was his yardage?
It wasn't very good.
Exactly.
But like I just said, the offense was really bad with a quarterback that couldn't keep the drive going. So that has a lot to do with it. If you're talking about a team that has Big Ben healthy, that consistently gave Le'Veon Bell 70-plus targets per year, and something happens to James Conner, which, newsflash, something's happens to James Conner every year he's been in the NFL, then Benny Snell should slide into a starting role on a potent offense, and he should be the backup right now. Now, if we had a real training camp where we could see other guys emerge and you could talk about Anthony McFarland, who everybody loves, I'd be more inclined to say, yes, Anthony McFarland. But Benny Snell right now is ahead of the depth chart in all the metrics that I've seen. Benny Snell should still get the crack at having the job. So I'm taking Benny Snell, who has the year in the NFL, ahead of McFarland.
Because I'm telling you, that's the reason why I asked it the way I did, and the reason why Travis didn't want to come. They know what they have in Benny Snell. Benny Snell's not a good running back. Like,
he had 1 year, Johnny, with like 3 different crap quarterbacks. How do they know what they had?
Okay, hold on. I saw 1 year of Kalen Ballage. I told you he was fucking garbage, and guess what? He was fucking garbage. I don't need a lot of tape to tell you. I didn't need a lot of tape to tell you Ito Smith is trash. I don't need he was dog trash last year. I don't need a lot of tape to tell you when these trash running backs are trash. I can tell you when they're not good. And Ben Snell is not a good running back.
We want to go on a list of all the guys you've said are really good.
Hey, Ben Snell is not a good running back. That is why they put high draft capital and invested in Anthony McFarland. That is why there is so much hype around Anthony McFarland in a lot of fantasy circles and communities, because people see what Anthony McFarland can do in action and when given space, and it's very opposite of what we've seen with Benny Snell. So that's why Pittsburgh went out and drafted another running back, because they know they don't have anything in Snell. They know that. So I'm telling you, I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save you.
Whatever you want.
Whisper Nation.
You're gonna save me from my 13th round pick, Johnny? Yes, you really saved me, buddy. Thank God you were there to save me from my 13th round pick.
So what I'm taking from this conversation is there's some question marks behind James Conner in the Pittsburgh Steelers backfield. We've got a lot of powerful opinions that are coming in right now that mean nothing right now, but we really love to get excited about it. And that backfield is one up for grabs. I mean, there could be someone kind of sneaky. There could be someone over there who's going to end up taking in for an injured James Conner, because as Pimp and Easy and say, to be fair, Conner wasn't that good either. I think James Conner does all right when he's playing over there, but usually, as Travis said, something does
No,
happen,
and that's
that
a
Pittsburgh Steelers
I
running
like
back.
that Pimpin' Ain't Easy brought that up because Connor was not good in that offense last year. Because once again, the offense never got going with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph as their quarterback. So yes, do we know what we have in Benny Snell? No, we don't. Do we even know what we have in James Conner? Not without Big Ben, we
James
don't.
Conner
So
was decent when he started.
he was okay.
He was
He
decent.
was okay.
I said,
He
what
was
was it?
not
What was it?
great.
4 out of the 6 weeks, he was an RB2 or better. That's pretty good. Benny Snell was not an RB2 any of those weeks that he had 16 touches that you claim that he had. So many touches. He did nothing with them. And
I didn't say touches. I said 16 carries.
Okay. 16 carries, touches, same difference. He's
Not
touching the ball.
difference.
He's touching the ball 16 times. So I'm telling you right now, Benny Snell is not a good running back.
The Steelers are a really interesting team that has traditionally produced so many high-volume fantasy players at really all positions minus the tight end. I mean, Big Ben's been a great streamer guy up and down, a lot on the championship teams, usually having 2 wide receivers over there. Their defense is always top-notch. They've got so many this is a new era, but still with some of the same old players, and Mike Tomlin and Big Ben is still around. But that backfield is difficult to figure out with what we're looking
Johnny
at.
wants to talk about draft capital for Benny Snell versus Anthony McFarland. Anthony McFarland was taken at 418. Benny Snell was taken at 420. They're the same draft capital, Johnny. So
Right.
I don't want to hear that they were better, that it's better draft capital. It's the same capital. All I'm saying is I wouldn't be so sure that it's McFarland over Snell. I would, especially in this offseason where we don't have workouts, I would side with the guy who's been on the field.
I will guarantee that Anthony McFarland will be a better fantasy player in 2020 than Benny Snell. He will score more fantasy points.
That's not what we're arguing here. I'm arguing the backup to James Conner. And to me, in my mind,
be Anthony McFarland.
That is Benny Snell.
No, it will be Anthony McFarland. That's what I'm saying.
Not who's going to be used more as a gadget in the offense.
We're going to be pulling this conversation at some point. I'm hoping week like 9 or 10, we can pull this conversation. Whisper Nation, hold us to this one. We got Benny Snell versus Anthony McFarland. It is a contentious debate on who is going to be backing up James Conner.
I do want to get, because we've in our rant here on the backfield, we missed the fact that some of Whisper Nation here was asking about Jay Sternberger. So Johnny, since you got some energy here, why don't you tell us what your thoughts are on Jay Sternberger here and the Packers, and if he's worth it in redraft leagues, especially in a 16 team like this?
Yeah, I really do like Jace. I think he's one of those other tight ends that fit in that category of being a breakout tight end. Now, I don't know if he has the breakout capability to be a top 5, because we've just never seen Aaron Rodgers use a tight end that way. I know we want to believe that. And we want to think, but really Michael Finley was the only guy that was really usable at the tight end position during Aaron Rodgers' entire career, pretty consistently, and that was years and years ago. I mean, even Jared Cook struggled a little bit to be a quality tight end from week to week. So I just don't know that Aaron Rodgers likes to use his tight end a whole lot. But I do like Jace. Like, I think that he has an ability to break out as a top 10, and if some of these other guys get taken, I have no problem if people want to take. That's what's so nice. I mean, I know it's fun. I get riled up with Travis, because that's just kind of what we like to do on the show about the 13th round pick. But it's the truth. Like, it's a 13th round dart throw, and I think that you could do it a lot. You could be a lot worse than taking a guy like Jace for sure. So. And we always say this, you're going to need at least one guy to drop. So if Jace doesn't pan out the weeks 1 and 2 like you think they are, or like you think he is, then you drop him and you got to pick someone up. So
I think Sternberger is a guy that you're grabbing late in the tight end pool, late in your drafts, and you're anybody you're taking this late in this kind of situation, if you end up dropping him, it's not really a big deal. He does have a shot to move forward in a Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers system and be the number one tight end. Aaron Rodgers really hasn't had a number one tight end that he's really gone to consistently over his career. I mean, we've had guys that are here and there, but it's, Michael Finley maybe was our top guy.
Yeah,
Jimmy Graham had a
that's
couple of
Michael
games here and
Finley.
there. And I like Jay Sternberger, but to me, he's just like another exciting streamer. He's
I would
an
say,
exciting
yeah, I think he's probably a year away from what they want him to do in that offense. But I'll tell you this: he's got upside to be the pass catching tight end. He's got upside to be the touchdown tight end. And whether or not Rodgers has used a tight end may have been based on the system he was put in for all these years. LaFleur has used tight ends, and so has Shanahan, and so has some of these coaching trees that LaFleur has come from. To use that move tight end and to use the dual running back system. So I think there is opportunity for Sternberger to break out. I just don't know if this is the year. And, it's definitely in a single tight end league, it may get a little hard.
We saw coming off the board in this round. In the 14th round, I led it off taking Russell Gage. Drop a Russell Gage on this one. I think this might be a little bit of a sleeper guy who's involved pretty regularly. Ryan Tannehill taken off the board following. And then Devontae Freeman unsigned, but will probably not stay that way. Minnesota Vikings is off the board. So is Gus Edwards, Big Ben, Chris Conley, Antonio Brown, OJ Howard. Big Travie took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense, we saw wide receiver for Jacksonville, LaVisca Chenault Jr., followed by Chase Claypool, the Chargers defense, and a couple more picks here now rounding out the 14th round here in our 16-team half-point PPR mock draft. We're getting some names here that we don't usually get to talk about. This is pretty fun. I'm liking this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure, getting names that we don't often talk about. A couple things I want to note here. Brandon did talk about Richard Rodgers was a top 10 tight end. You are correct. He did say he had a lot of tight ends. Yes, and they were like very kind. A couple of them were Hail Marys, but hey, you'll take them. They're fantasy points. And then Kuma Highlight says the guy in the left corner is correct. McFarland will replace Connor soon.
Maybe if Benny Snell
That's
gets hurt
just
too.
like your opinion, man.
Okay. And then the last thing I will say is great pickup here by FF Fortune. Super late. It spaced my mind, and so it's a great pickup. But Antonio Brown in the 1408 spot, I do expect Antonio Brown to sign shortly, and I do, he will face suspension, but it's rumored to be up to six games. And if you're in a 16-team PPR league and you're getting a talent like Antonio Brown in the 14th round, you're investing no draft capital at all on a guy that, could, if, let's say he does go 16 weeks, but when he comes back, I mean, some of these teams that I've heard, Seattle, Houston, you're telling me you wouldn't want him on that team as a wide receiver, and you don't think that has wide receiver one upside those weeks, as long as he can stay on the field and doesn't, go crazy. I think it's a great pick.
A lot of ifs.
Yeah, it is a lot of ifs, but again, it's a 14th round pick, so
for sure.
I want to bring up a little bit on, because he's not really getting talked a lot about right now, but I think he's going to get more, and it's not just because I took him here in my Dynasty League, but Russell Gage, the slot wide receiver now for the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons didn't draft a single wide receiver this year, and they let Austin Hooper go. We know that we've got Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, of course, but Russell Gage stepped in there at the end of the year last year. He was a very reliable option. Looks like he's going to be stuck in that slot position. Even if anything happens to one of those guys above him, Ridley or Julio Jones, this guy really has value. But even on its own, I think this late in a half-point PPR format, this is going to be a guy who's going to be on the field a lot. You're playing in a high-powered offense. They just lost their tight end. Like, what do you guys think about Russell Gage right now?
I think it's perfect where you got him in the 14th round. It's like you said, it's a pass-happy offense. It's really good. You did mention they got rid of Hooper, but they traded for Hayden Hurst, so they have a plan to backfill Austin Hooper for sure. But once again, the 14th round for a guy like you said, Calvin Ridley goes down. Julio goes down, Russell Gage is going to step into a big part of that target share, and then you're sitting there pretty for a guy you snagged in the 14th round.
I unfortunately I was a lot more hyped on Russell Gage in my mind than when I actually statted him out. Now, am I saying my stats are going to be the end all be all? No. It just gives me a barometer of where, an actual picture of what it could look like, and I'm, projecting about 50 catches, 50 to 60 catches, under 500 receiving yards. So not a whole lot, but I definitely do think that there is upside there if a Calvin Ridley or Julio Jones does go down. They do like Russell Gage. That was a great point that you brought up. They didn't bring anybody in, and we talked about this in our draft kit on Russell Gage. They didn't bring anybody in, so that indicates that they do have a lot of trust in Russell Gage, and that was another reason why they were so confident in trading away now I'm blanking on his name. What's his name? To Mohamed Sanu to the Patriots last year, was because they wanted to get this guy more opportunity and see if he could fill in that slot receiver role. So yeah, like Travis said, they throw the ball a lot. And I mean, in the 14th round, again, it's not bad of a pick, but.
Speaking of others, late round wide receivers and guys deeper on depth charts, Kuma highlights in our YouTube chat said, first off, hey, I got Gage low in my dynasty. Me too. What's up, Kuma? But he also then asks, what do you think of Jalen Reagor, breakout candidate this year for the Eagles? I know Travis drafted him. I like his long-term look. I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at this conversation first because I've been pretty darn invested in the Eagles backfield the wide receiver course for a long time. I love Jalen Reagor as a prospect moving forward. I think in 2 years, he's going to be right at the top. He doesn't even need to be the one. He'll probably be the one. But they've got so many players over there right now. High draft capital rookies from last year who didn't get a lot of time, like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who didn't play great, but he is still a rookie, and Rager is going to be a rookie as well. You got Deshaun Jackson. They brought over Marquise Goodwins. And, of course, Big Travy's number one guy here, Alshon Jeffrey, is still going to be on the field there. So there's a lot of competition for a rookie wide receiver to be climbing through to get relevancy this year. I love his future prospects. But for this year, I mean, hell, if they do get as many wide receivers to go down as they did last season, yeah, sure. But at where it's stacked up right now, there's just so many layers for a rookie to work through to be relevant that I'm not in on it this year, but moving forward, absolutely.
Yeah, Rieger. I love Rieger. I think that he's going to be an
Is
excellent.
it Rieger?
Yeah,
Jalen Rieger. Got it.
At least that's how I've heard it pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, but that's how I thought it was pronounced. But I think that he has everything needed to be that high explosive wide receiver that we thought, that we see in Tyreek Hill or, some of these other big, or T.Y. Hilton. I think he has that, burst and capability. This guy, we have to remember, like, he went to TCU. His quarterback was not good, and yet this kid still produced and was outstanding. Some of his catches were phenomenal. Like, he is going to be a very good wide receiver for a team that needs wide receivers. And this whole Deshaun Jackson thing only helped solidify his role in this offense, I think. And I think they're going to really try to push forward with Rieger and do it with Rieger what they wanted to do with Deshaun Jackson.
Anything to add on that, Travis, before we jump? We got a lot of requests for draft grades coming at us.
I drafted Rieger in Dynasty. I love his outlook. As Austin said, though, I think we're a year or two out from him actually making a splash. Rookie wide receivers relatively do not make that splash, and especially ones that are the prototypical speedster down the sideline as Rieger. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but yeah, there's nothing but upside for Rieger because he's literally he could be the unofficially fastest guy in the draft class. He did an unofficial 40 on tape that wasn't part of the 40-yard dash, and it was faster than blanking on his name from Las Vegas, but who was the fastest guy in the draft. So he did it all. Yeah. So that's where we're at with Rieger. That's how fast he is. That's what we know is in his bag. But I think he might be a year or two off.
Great take on this one. Great draft, everybody.
Hey,
Thank
great
you.
draft. We made
This
it
is awesome.
through
And we got a lot of
16.
people that have hung around on our live stream. This is awesome. Y'all have been here with us now for close to 2 hours on it. We appreciate y'all. This is so much fun. Remember to like and subscribe. The people are asking for draft grades. We know that they all, that's why they've been hanging around here. So how do you want to hit this one, Johnny?
Well, I was thinking maybe because that's 16 people is a lot. Maybe we go with our favorite, or maybe
How
our
about we do this? We deserve, everybody here who's hung around in this one
yeah.
has been with us on this. They deserve to have what they've been looking for, and that's some draft grades. So we
Okay.
don't need to spend a long time belaboring all of these picks. But what if we go like this? I'm going to run them down. I'm going to read out the teams, and I'm going to hit it to Travis. What's your grade on him? Johnny, what's your grade on what's the highs, the lows, and your grade? Let's
Okay,
make
I
it
like
quick
that.
on this
I
one.
like that one. I like that. All right.
All right, so I'm going to run down the teams. You say what you like, what you don't like. Give me that grade. 3 points, each one of you. We're going to get through these 13 teams. We got draft grades coming for you, Fantasy Nation. Buckle up. Starting at the first overall pick, it's Easy Daddy, Christian McCaffrey at the number 1 spot, followed by Patrick Mahomes, Devin Singletary, T.Y. Hilton, Cortland Sutton, Antonio Gibson, Zach Moss, Jalen Reagor, Brandon Ayuk, Noah Fant, Baker Mayfield, Lynn Bowden Jr., Benny Snell Jr., the Saints defense, and kicker out of the Los Angeles Rams. Travi, what you like, what you don't like, and what is the draft
What I liked
grade
is that you
give?
completely bailed on trying to pronounce the kicker's name there. That was probably my favorite
Ow.
part of all that. What I like about his team here, I love Patrick Mahomes paired with CMC. I love the late pick of Zach Moss. I know that won't get a lot of love from Johnny's side. I like Jalen Reagor here. I love Cortland Sutton, T.Y. Hilton combo. I think it's a pretty balanced team. Would have liked to see him get a more safe tight end than trying to take the upside of Noah Fant here. Plus, he already had Sutton, so he's kind of doubling down on a Denver passing attack. But other than that, I think he's got a strong core. I would probably give him a C+, B-, somewhere in there.
How about you, Game Time?
Yeah, I mean he took Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, so I don't mind that he took both of them. Because if Travis is correct, I don't think he is, but if Zach Moss is the guy, then he's okay. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for any team to beat a combo of Pat Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey. Like it just is. Those two guys are two gems in fantasy. So this team will definitely win games just based on those two players alone, and he's got a good. So I would give him an A- on this, and it's looking like it might turn into an A based on what I might see everywhere else. But I'll give a little leeway to myself, a little wiggle room. I'm going to A-.
And just for my contribution, I'll just say which one of your grades I relate to a little bit more on this one. So I'm a fan of this draft. I'm gonna side with Johnny for Easy Daddy. Great draft, Easy Daddy. Thanks for joining along. Moving on to the number spot, Junior Yaka or Jay Urlaka or Julia Aka. There's a lot of ways we could do that one. I hope I get it right in one of those options. Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor. 3 running backs, 1, 2, 3, followed by a runner wide receivers. He snags Stephon Diggs, A.J. Green, Debo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Justin Jefferson. Quarterback is Matt Ryan, tight end Mike Gesicki, Josh Kelly, rookie running back out of the Chargers backfield, Cole Beasley, the Cowboys defense, and Jake Elliott at his kicker position. Last pick was Trent Taylor, wide receiver out of San Francisco. We started off with Travis last time. We're going to hit it to Johnny first. What do you like? What do you don't like? What's the grade?
I really like how we started off this draft. Even though it is a half-point PPR, we saw how quickly the running back position dried up, and he got 3 solid guys now. Jonathan Taylor won't be known for getting a lot of carries or a lot of receptions out of that backfield. He'll get a lot of touchdowns. I think that's nice. And then the wide receivers here are very, very nice wide receivers. Although there's not a lot of major flash. Is going to be carried by Ezekiel, his running backs, and then hope that AJ Green. I'm just not a big fan of a lot of these wide. They'll be good wide. I'm gonna go with B on this one. I'm gonna go with a B on this team.
Johnny gives him a B. Not a fan of the flash. I like the way he paired it together. Let's see what Travis has to say. We'll say it like this: strengths that you see, weaknesses that you see, and then your overall grade.
Strengths are definitely in the running back, and then in quarterback, getting Matt Ryan in the 9th round. I thought that was a great pick there. The weaknesses would be the wide receivers, but I love what he did here to mitigate that risk. He took 5 straight wide receivers. So the idea here is that 3 of those guys should work out as his starters. And there's some pop here. Stephon Diggs, AJ Green, Deontay Johnson, who I mentioned earlier and gave a breakdown on. Big pop there. Deebo Samuel, comebacks from injury, is the nominal wide receiver 1 for the 49ers. Now, that may not mean a lot because Kittle's going to get the market share there, but Deebo Samuel is upside. So has upside. So there is upside in here. I actually think this is a B-plus draft. I think he put it all together. Gesicki is a late tight end, but a late tight end with upside to break out at the position here. Yeah.
I'm on Travis's side with this one. I think that his wide receiver core has more pop than Game Time gave it credit. I'm going to go inside with Travis on this one. Moving on to the truth serum. Saquon Barkley, Melvin Gordon III, Allen Robinson, Ronald Jones II, Devontae Parker, Kerryon Johnson, Jamison Crowder, Justin Jackson, Sammy Watkins, Tom Brady, Jonnu Smith, Danny Amendola, Jamal Williams, the Green Bay Packers defense, and Matt Gay, kicker out of Tampa Bay, to close out his 15th round pick. We went with Johnny. Travis, hearing from you again. Strengths, weaknesses, what's your grade?
Yeah, this one was kind of tough on the eyes or ears. No offense to Truth Serum. Saquon Barkley was a great start, obviously. He fell to you at the 3rd. I thought that was awesome. Melvin Gordon, I've got huge question marks on with all those backs there in Denver. Allen Robinson, I do like. So I think that's part of your strength in your core there. But then it just starts getting to be guys that I'm just kind of got questions on. Ronald Jones, Kerryon Johnson, Devontae Parker. We've saw the 1 year, but where's the rest of it at? I just Jonnu Smith, I know Johnny likes. I'm not completely sold, but I guess in the 11th, that's all right. I'm going C-. I'm not a big fan of this team. Brady, you'd be banking a lot on Brady being able to do it here, even for another year. I'd rather be a year early than a year late on Tom Brady.
You definitely got pop with Saquon Barkley, but
after that, I just don't know. Yeah.
How about you, Game Time?
I mean, Devontae, I'm actually fine with Devontae Parker, Allen Robinson, and Jamison Crowder sneakily being a solid PPR option. But I am a big fan of Jonnu Smith. His 2 starting running backs are fine. It's finding that flex, or if one of those running. I do have my question marks on Melvin Gordon as well, just like Big Travis said, and Tom Brady certainly. Listen, a lot of people are high on Tom Brady because of all the weapons, but we haven't seen it in a long time from Tom Brady be a top 12 quarterback as much as, so I just don't see the upside to that. So I would be very similar to Travis. I don't know if I'd go C-. I'd probably go a solid C on this, C+ maybe. I could be talked into that as a teacher. I would be like, all right, I could give the plus for some of the
brought
pieces
you some
there.
candy or what?
Yeah.
We're on pretty much agreement on this team but this is why we're mocking for it.
Yeah.
Moving on to our number 1 fan, Jacob Blay, the reason why we're doing a 16-team draft in the first place. Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, George Kittle. What a 1, 2, 3. Followed by Terry McLaurin, Marquise Brown, Alexander Madison, Tony Pollard, Anthony Miller, Brashard Perriman, De'Arianton Evans, Dallas Goedert, Zane Gonzalez, kicker out of Arizona, Corey Davis, the Chargers defense, and Drew Lock at his second quarterback position. Johnny, it's your time to lead us off. What's the strengths you see here, the weaknesses, and your overall grade?
I really like this team for what he did to start off. Like, this was a very okay. I do know a little bit of backstory because he was DMing me on his. He was gonna try something new. So this is very, very intriguing. I love the first 5 rounds. Like, that is a high upside team. Now his RB2 is where it kind of struggles a little bit. I think he's even fine with his wide receiver 3. I love Anthony Miller and Brashard Perriman. But I would have to knock him on the RB2. And it dried up fast a lot. It really did. So I would have to go with probably I like the wide receivers. I like Lamar Jackson. So it's hard to give anything with Lamar and Kittle and Kamara. But I'm gonna go B+ with this. I'm gonna go B+.
Yeah, I have to give Blay a B+ too. And it's just simply because the 3 elites started off, you talked perfectly. The top 5 rounds are huge. But then when I loved what he did, he said, if I'm going to punt the RB2, why don't I stack a bunch of guys I know are the handcuffs? We talk about knowing if you have a handcuff, that's who you should be taking, or these lottery tickets. Madison, Pollard, and Darrington Evans, all 3 of these guys project to be into huge voluminous roles if the starter goes down. So he's taking a shot that one of these guys can emerge from there, and he's going to play his cards at these 4 upside wide receivers that he got in Terry McLaurin, Marquise Brown, Anthony Miller, and Brashad Perriman. And even Corey Davis, a little bit of an outside shot there. He'd have to be a post-type sleeper, but I like him even in the 13th.
He would have to pull a Devontae Parker, but it's possible. We've seen it.
For sure. But I love the upside of just Terry McLaurin and Marquise Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say a B, B plus, like Johnny was saying here. I think he's got probably my favorite draft so far.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with any of those points there. Jacob Blay, #1 fan. Love you, man. Moving on to Al Pansike. I'm going to get it right one of these times. Dalvin Cook was his first pick at the fifth selection, followed by Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, Mark Andrews, tight end out of Baltimore, Dak Prescott's his quarterback, J.K. Dobbins, Tariq Cohen are gone, Tyler Higbee, Michael Pittman Jr., Randall Cobb, Jerick McKinnon, Antonio Gandy,
Gandy Golden.
There we go. Thank you. Antonio Gandy Golden is gone. Marquise Goodwin, Chase Claypool, and Steven Sims Jr. Travis, this is your time to lead us off. What is a strength here? What's a weakness here? And what's your overall grade?
Strength would probably be starting roster as a whole. Looks pretty good. He does have a little bit of a falter at RB2, but he does have pure upside in J.K. Dobbins at RB2. And also Tariq Cohen is sitting there as a guy who's probably being slept on this year, was not fully healthy last year, did not really come into his own. And with Nick Foles coming to town, should get a lot of receptions. So could be a sneaky good RB2 if he need him in a pinch. Love the wide receiver core he put together here. Anchored by Amari Cooper and then Calvin Ridley, who is a boss. Mark Andrews with huge upside. Dalvin Cook, of course. So all of those are real big strengths. I think as far as a complete roster is concerned, he's looking pretty good. I'll give him a B. I think a solid B here. He put a pretty good squad together and had some upside picks late too with Michael Pittman Jr., but then also Jerick McKinnon, who we talked a little bit about as an upside pick in the 11th.
I would concur with the B. But I would say I would not be surprised to look at this team at the end of the year and be like, this would be an A team, because I could see a lot of these guys, if they hit their potential, this could be one of those teams that's like, oh, this was a really, really solid team.
Disagree with both. Yeah, I hate to talk on this. The way I see it, though, is my strategy with the running backs. Dalvin Cook right now is holding out, and all the other guys might not actually be getting a lot of opportunity. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 2, is his best option there. Pittman Jr., Randall Cobb. Now, I'm not surprised if this team balls out.
Michael Pittman's going to be a stud. He's going to get a lot of targets.
He's also a rookie, and Paris Campbell is ahead of him on the depth chart right now. So we'll see if he ends up being the guy.
But Paris Campbell will be the slot guy, and Pittman is projected to be more of the outside guy, which will be think of him as more of the Keenan Allen role. And I understand what you're saying with rookies. No.
Do you think T.Y. Hilton doesn't go outside, or?
No, I mean, T.Y. Hilton will play outside. T.Y. Hilton plays outside and inside. T.Y. Hilton's, I'm not really in this conversation. I'm just talking about I'm just saying people are sleeping, or people aren't sleeping, but I'm just telling you, Michael Pittman will be fantasy relevant this year. He will have games. He will become a consistent contributor for Phillip Rivers.
I'll tell you that I'm not surprised at all if Michael Pittman Jr. is completely irrelevant this year, 100%. I'm not surprised at all to see that, where maybe he has one game where he maybe gets you double digits.
He will definitely have way more than that, for sure.
This is the time I love when we had the I'd be shocked if board.
Yeah,
I
would put it on here. I would. That's how egregious I think that is.
You got a contentious team. I love how we're all getting back at each other on this one. But nice draft nonetheless. Just a little bit different on strategy, but I like how you covered your bases and set yourself up pretty well. Reed Tyler moving on from the 6th position. He started off his draft with Michael Thomas, the first wide receiver off the board, followed by Le'Veon Bell, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Damian Williams, Darius Slayton, Chase Edmonds, Drew Brees is his quarterback, Rashad Penny is there, Austin Hooper, Baltimore Ravens, Harrison Butker, T. Higgins, the Jacksonville wide receiver that they took, and Frank Gore. I'm not going to butcher that name right now. Laviska Shenault Jr.
That's Travis's boy.
Johnny Game Time, what do you think is Reed Tyler's strengths, weaknesses, and overall grade for his mock team?
I think that this is an A minus. I love the first of all the double dip. We talk about it whether it matters or not. I like to think it does. The double dip of Drew Brees and Michael Thomas is pretty nice. And having Michael Thomas and A.J. Brown, which is a guy I'm like really, really high on, and then Keenan Allen, and you also have Darius Slayton as well. I am actually rising on Damian Williams, believe it or not. So I would give this an A minus. Yeah, I would give this an A minus.
A minus for Reed Taylor from Johnny Game Time Hicks. How about you, Big Travie?
Yeah, I really wanted to give it an A minus. I think I'm gonna lean
But
B+.
then I did, and then now he's like,
I think I'm only gonna lean B+ because of the running back situation past Le'Veon Bell. I do love the fact that he stacks some upside in Chase Edmonds and Rashad Penny. We talked about how these are some upside lottery tickets there, and the wide receiver core on this team is stacked to pair with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, and then Slayton is your 4th wide receiver. I love that depth there. I think that's great. Austin Hooper scares me a little bit at tight end, but I can understand why you want to take a shot at him. I just don't see him being a really top tier tight end, so I probably wouldn't have taken him late there. So I think that's what knocks it down to a B+ for me. I don't think he gets the edge to A for me in this one, but man, that wide receiving core is nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you pair that wide receiving core with a real stud at running back, or even 2 solid running backs, I would be sitting here. But Le'Veon Bell does have some question marks, even though he should be in line for 300 touches.
For me, if he would have taken, I'm on Travis' side with this one, and if he would have taken Damian Williams, I know he's starting off there, but CEH, first running back off the board, they really like him. I don't think anybody expects for Damian Williams to be finishing the season in playoff times as Kansas City's lead dog. So for me,
I don't think he'll be the lead dog, but I think he'll
just
be
a valuable guy.
Yeah, I think he'll be relevant.
For sure.
He could start the year as a hot hand for sure.
Personally, I would have loved it. I would have sided with Johnny if he would have gone ahead and taken Darius Geis at that 5th position.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier when you read the names, and I said, man, just grab Geis there, and I feel like this roster's an A.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. But really nicely done, especially here in a 16-team draft, Reed Tyler. Great to have you again, man. It's been a lot of fun having you in the rooms. We're skipping over Big Travis' pick. We're jumping over to Boomerang Steel now. Nick Chubb at the 8th position was selected, following then James Conner, Zach Ertz, Marlon Mack, Jarvis Landry, Julian Edelman, Aaron Rodgers, John Brown, the 49ers defense, Larry the Legend Fitzgerald, Dede Westbrook, Justin the Opera Singer Tucker, Rex Burkhead, O.J. Howard, and John Ross III was complete Boomerang Steelers team. It's now, I believe it's Travis's turn. At least you spoke last, Travis. So upside, downside, what's your overall grade for Boomerang Steal something?
I just I like this team. I think it's pretty solid. It's very vanilla in the wide receiving core, but that's fine when he took some upside guys at running back. You've got Nick Chubb there. You've got James Conner. Marlon Mack, I did not love that pick. I think that's not the best pick in the world, given what they've done in the draft and taking Jonathan Taylor. But I love the Zach Ertz pick. We talked about Zach Ertz being solidified in 24% of this target market share in that offense. So he's going to be as good as a tight end as you could draft, and you got him in the late 3rd. So for me, I think it's a B-. It's a C+. It's somewhere in the middle there. I think it's solid all the way around. Aaron Rodgers scares me, and I'm a Packers fan. I want Aaron Rodgers to be the man, but Aaron Rodgers scares me in an offense that's literally drafting no wide receivers, multiple tight ends, and multiple running backs. They are telling us, they are screaming to us what they want to do with this offense. They want to run the football. Aaron Rodgers could be hyper efficient like a Russell Wilson. He just doesn't add it with his legs anymore like he used to. So for me, Aaron Rodgers scares me a little. He doesn't have the pop that he used to have. So once again, C+, B-, somewhere in there for me.
All fair points. How about you, Game Time?
I'm going more. I'm on, unfortunately, the borderline of like a C. I mean, I love Jarvis Landry. I think Julian Edelman will be interesting. I am a little worried about Julian Edelman's value with Cam Newton, because Cam Newton's not necessarily the most consistent or accurate kind of guy, quarterback. The Marlon Mack, like Travis said, that one scratched my head a little bit. I am a fan of John Brown, but yeah, again, Aaron Rodgers, that one does question me as well. I'm not on that boat. Larry Fitzgerald, unfortunately, I think that he's going to be the third wheel in that wide receiver trio. D.D. Westbrook, I'm not the biggest fan of, unfortunately. So yeah, I would go with a C on this one.
If this was his team last year, it'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah.
I just don't think a lot of the same things are going to shape up this way.
Yeah, if this team was last year's team, like it would be dynamite, but
with Stephon Diggs now over there in Buffalo, John Brown takes a drop. Julian Edelman loses his boy, and Tom Brady. Jarvis Landry had a great year last year, but now he doesn't have a hip. Marlon Mack is now dealing with Jonathan Taylor over there. This is just it could be. We know it's there, but like we said, I think that this was a great team last year, and it doesn't make the same kind of promises, to me at least, moving forward. FF Fortune, the 9th position, takes Josh Jacobs, Kenny Golladay, David Montgomery, running back out of Chicago, followed by Odell Beckham Jr., Kyler Murray, Keyshawn Vaughn, Mecole Hardman, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Denzel Mims, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, Adrian Peterson, Will Lutz, Antonio Brown, and Jalen Hurd. Johnny Game Time, strengths, weaknesses, and overall grade for FF Fortune.
I don't have to.
Like
this is the best draft. This is an A plus.
Yeah, hands down.
He's got Kyler Murray, who has, I have him as my quarterback 1. Josh Jacobs, I'm a big fan of. Dave Montgomery as well. Kenny G, I think could pop off and be a top 3. OBJ, I expect to pop back. Mecole Hardman upside. Mike Williams, you talked. I mean, I can literally every single one of these. Antonio Brown too, as well.
Until the 10th, right? Like he really had all the stabs, like you said, Johnny, late are good, but up until the 10th, he had a complete.
I even think. I think Pittsburgh will probably be the number 2 defense at the end of the year. I think Buffalo will be the number 1 for fantasy. But Pittsburgh is going to be, a monster. They're always good on defense. So yeah, I love this draft. If I'm in a 16-team draft and I walk away with this roster, it would be hard. I would be shocked if this did not make the top 4 teams.
Yeah, what we saw a lot in the first few teams that we talked about, and we'll talk about a few more here, is that around the round 5 spot, these teams are starting to dip off. People were trying to zig and zag where they could. FF Fortune stayed pretty even keeled here, like Johnny said, that Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Kenny G, OBJ, Kyler Murray, and then even in the 6th, when you think, oh, it could get a little haywire, Keyshawn Vaughn is a great pick in the 6th round here in a 16 team, because Keyshawn Vaughn could easily be the starting running back who projects to have better hands than Ronald Jones. So he should be a guy that could slide into a David Johnson type role. Not saying he is David Johnson in a Bruce Arians scheme. So for me, I just think that there's so much upside on this roster, and he's protected himself really well with all these picks down the line, and stashed a couple good picks in Antonio Brown and even Jalen Hurd, who's kind of sneaky down here in the 15th. Could be de facto number 1 with Deebo Samuel sidelined for a little bit.
Yeah,
I got to bring up a little bit of insider information because I know Big Travie has one of our league mates in the room over there with him. Shout out to Zabo, who took Keyshawn Vaughn in our rookie draft dynasty league this year, which pissed the hell out of Brett Johnson, saying, you took him so early, because he had Ronald Jones II, and now Brett Johnson has no running back. So that was hilarious.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, this is a great team. And especially, this just really showed a next level attitude with it by grabbing Antonio Brown all the way deep down there.
Yeah.
The dude might have just gotten the best wide receiver in the league in the 14th round, on top of already having a great starting lineup. Well done, sir. Love this draft. Moving on to B. Candela, 83. He's at the the 10th position. He takes Joe Mixon with his first round selection, following by then Chris Godwin, Todd Gurley the second, DK Metcalf, Brandon Cooks, Marvin Jones Jr., Evan Ingram, Anthony McFarland Jr., Rob Gronkowski, Matt Stafford. The Bears defense, Kirk Cousins, backup quarterback Greg Zuerlein, Chris Connolly, and Royce Freeman in the 15th round. Big Travie, we're hitting it over to you. What are the strengths you see here, the weaknesses as well, and your overall drag? Hit us.
This one might be an A-. This one's really close. It's got a lot of pop to it. I think it's a pretty well put together draft. He did go a little haywire when he took McFarland and then Rob Gronkowski in the 8th and 9th.
No, he didn't. Don't you
But
try.
I love the Matt
up.
Stafford pick in the 10th. Chicago Bears are a good pick. I don't understand drafting the multiple quarterbacks here and the multiple tight ends, but all power to you. That's fine. Love Marvin Jones as my 4th wide receiver. That dude can ball when he's on the field, and he kind of double dipped him here with Matt Stafford, who we've talked at length about with Matt Stafford being a high-powered passing attack paired with a bad defense. So for me, I'm not seeing a lot of holes here. Even the running backs, I would say not a lot of running back depth, and you're relying on Todd Gurley to be RB2, and that knee issue is a thing. So maybe that does bump him down. Yeah, so for me, probably a B+ as I'm looking at it again here, but really solid draft in my opinion.
How about you, Game Time?
I think it's an A-. I do agree with Travis that, I probably wouldn't take the double tight ends, especially as close as you did. If I'm fine with Evan Ingram if you're going to take him, but I wouldn't double down with Rob Gronkowski in the 9th. I would, follow up
doubling
with Travis.
Down one injury guy with another injury guy.
Yeah, exactly. And a guy that, in Rob Gronkowski, say what you will, I know there's a lot of hype around him, but we have not seen Rob Gronkowski produce from the tight end position in years, in like 3 years. So I would have preferred to take a stab at a running back there. Darrington Evans, I think, would have been a nice pickup there. And again, with the quarterback, Kirk Cousins, I would have taken maybe another stab at another running back there. But so that's why I would mark it down to an A-. But I love Joe Mixon and Todd Gurley combined. Travis might have some concerns about Todd Gurley's knee. And I mean, there is some slight, but I feel confident. We saw him get over 220 carries last year, and he wanted more. So, and they only.
To be fair, I love
him.
Todd Gurley as a pick. I just think you should mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah,
take him and
exactly.
He didn't take another. He didn't take another running back till the 8th. He waited 5 rounds in between.
Yeah. So I think it's an A-. I think it's good.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with anything you guys said over there either. Would have liked to see him back up Todd Gurley a little bit. For me, I'm also looking at, I don't see a strong wide receiver 1. I know we got Chris Godwin over there, but we talked earlier in the show about Mike Evans is still over there. And
don't you? DK Metcalf will have more to say about that.
DK Metcalf is not a wide receiver 1. He is way behind.
I know,
Tyler
that's why
Lockett.
I said he will have more to say about that this year.
Yeah, DK Metcalf, Brandon Cooks, Marvin Jones Jr. All guys could be the lead dogs over there for their teams, but also might not be. So
need
just
them
some
to
question
be the
marks.
lead dogs, though. They'll produce. Like, they're going to get, like, Marvin Jones is going to be a good fantasy option. Brandon Cooks is going to be a wide receiver 2. DK Metcalf has wide receiver 1 upside. Sure. You don't need them to be the wide receiver 1 for their team.
No, you don't if you want to just get production, but I'm looking to see who's got that highest ceiling on this one. That's what I personally like to try to play for on this one. I just don't see the highest ceiling outlook on this squad, but a really well-balanced team, and it's definitely making the playoffs. Moving on to my favorite team name, the Cat's Pajamas. The 11th round pick goes with Devontae Adams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Raheem Mostert, Johnny's favorite, Kareem Hunt, Tyler Boyd, Will Fuller the 5th. There's so many. What do you call it? Whatever. Will Fuller the 5th. Good for you, buddy. Boston Scott, Duke Johnson, Hunter Renfrow, Paris Campbell, Jack Doyle, Joe Burrow, the Rams defense, and Big Ben Roethlisberger backing up his quarterback, and Justin Roethlisberger, New England's kicker, in the 15th round pick. This time,
Justin Rammstein.
Johnny, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and what is the overall grade you're going to give the Cat's Pajamas?
This is the my favorite dark horse team. Like a lot of people probably aren't going to look at this roster and say like, oh, I would want this roster going into the season like as their favorite roster on this board. But I could like love Devontae Adams, CH, good pick. I bash Raheem Mostert,
Only like
but
this team because he's got Hunter Renfro on it.
no, that's not true. I like his team because I'll be honest with you, because look at his wide receivers. Devontae Adams, who I project to have like 150 plus targets. Tyler Boyd, who is literally taking the Justin Jefferson role that we saw explode at LSU. That's what Tyler Boyd is projected to be getting and in his spot. So love that. Will Fuller, we talked about, if this guy stays healthy, and in the 6th round, this guy is a wide receiver 1 all day long if he stays healthy. Boston Scott, love that pick. I said I would have picked him there in the 7th if he was there instead of Naheem Hines. I do like the Hunter Renfro pick. Yes, I do, but I also like the Jack Doyle. And Joe Burrow and Ben Roethlisberger, I think, are both quarterbacks that will be solid quarterbacks that will get you week to week top 10 production between the two of them. So you can switch out. I love this team. I would
Nice
A minus.
breakdown
Did
there.
I say A minus?
Agree or disagree? Well said. How about you, Big Travie? Strengths, weaknesses, and grade.
I think it's going to hurt to say this, but I agree with Johnny. Johnny kind of laid it out pretty perfectly. I think through 6 rounds, you're looking at a team that's put together really well. Wide receiver core is tough. The running back core is tough. He got Jack Doyle, who should be a consistent tight end with Phillip Rivers coming to town without Eric Ebron there. And then he just hedged his bet. He says, I want Big Dick Joe Burrow, but also, like, if that doesn't work out, I've got Big Ben, who we're 2 years away from being the QB3 in all of fantasy. So, like, we've got some opportunity here for this team to really pop, and I don't think it's a dark horse at all. I think when you really break down this team, he is worth an A minus in this league, especially in a 16-team squad. And like that's the other thing we got to talk about when we're grading these teams. It's based on his opponents in this league, right? You're based on he's going to match up against these other teams every week, and if you're putting a full roster together, this is one of the best full rosters there is.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I'm going to give him a B+ on the team and an A+ on the team name. Pajamas. The Shiva moving over here, leapfrogging over game time, overlooking the Shiva,
this
picking at the 13th.
Just gives Johnny the heebie-jeebies right here, dude.
Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Michael Gallup, Hayden Hurst at the tight end position, Sterling Shepard, Jerry Jeudy, Josh Allen is his quarterback, Curtis Samuel, Blake Jarwin tight end, Jalen Richard, Jared Goff, the Minnesota Vikings defense, and Brandon McManus is his kicker. That's the Shiva's team. Big Travie, strengths, weaknesses, overall grade. Let's go.
The strengths. I'm not trying to be mean here. I don't see a lot of strength outside of Hayden Hurst, which you probably got a little too early for my blood, and you're banking on him being Austin Hooper. Love Michael Gallup and Tyler Lockett, so I guess maybe wide receiver would be your strength. I love Cooper Kupp, but there's so much metrics to prove that Cooper Kupp is really in danger of losing a lot of snaps this year if the Rams transform that offense. We know that he's relied on by Jared Goff, but we know that that team may not want to rely on Jared Goff as much as they have in the last couple of years. So Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler, if you take Miles Sanders, I understand taking him on the pure upside, but then you double down with Austin Eckler, who's never been a number 1 back. Like for an extended period of time and probably isn't going to project to be a bell cow guy. So I'm just a little hesitant there. And then you don't draft a running back until the 12th round in Jalen Richard. I just think you left yourself a lot of holes here. But I do like the upside in the wide receiving core. Josh Allen, of course, has upside, but I think he's being overhyped this year as a guy that really needs to put it all together in order to be the guy people want him to be. But this is a lot later than I've been seeing him go, which is nice. So in the 9th round,
that was a nice pickup.
I will say that. But other than that, I think we're looking at a C+ here. Just not the greatest roster that we've talked. And he maybe he's got some recency working against him here because we've talked about some really good teams back up against him. But that is part of the equation too.
Yeah, I would second what Travis said. I mean, I'm fine with the Miles Sanders pick where you got him in this type of league, and Austin Eckler, like. Talk about a guy who's, I'm finding hard to grade because on one hand, you have to admit that he is a good football player and he's super efficient and that's just what he does. But then you got to look on the other hand at the situation, what it has been and what it will be this next year. And I do see a huge hit coming in the receptions. Because Tyrod Taylor just simply doesn't dump off nearly as much as Phillip Rivers. So I think that a lot of people are banking on the receptions that Phillip Rivers was giving them, and it's not going to be close. So, and similar with the Cooper Kupp, I like Tyler Boyd. I do like Michael Gallup. I do think people are sleeping on Sterling Shepard is a nice piece, but yeah, there's some stuff lacking there for sure. And when you're comparing it to other teams in this league, that's where you get that grade from.
Yeah, it's not the highest ceiling team, and it might be the lowest floor team. And it's one of those squads where if things go south, it might be like, oh no.
When the wheels fall off,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
could
but it's
fall off.
Miles Sanders. I'm not surprised if he's a running back one. Austin Eckler, if he does his thing again, that's a top 5 running back there. You got in the second round. If Cooper Kupp does his thing again, that's a wide receiver one. Tyler Lockett shouldn't be holding back. Hayden Hurst, we know you guys have gone back and forth on this one. So honestly, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on it. I think that there is a world where this could be that team that everybody talks mad trash on in the draft and then comes in as like the number 1 team at the end of the season.
And at the end of
it
the
all
year,
worked out
you're
this
like,
way. A Chris
you're
Thomas
like,
team.
of course that team was good. Like, why wouldn't we think that team was going to be good?
But they just get trashed on draft night for it. But this absolutely could work out being one of those squads that, hey, everything freaking came together and it looked great. But it does make me a little bit nervous. We got 2 more teams. We're almost with you, and it always blows my mind and touches my heart. It's a moving gesture to see how many folks hang around in our live chat. It means so much to us. Make sure you're liking and subscribing if you haven't done so already. We are 2.5 hours into this mock draft, and people are still hanging around, man. I love it. I love what fantasy football does for the community and does for my chemical balance every week. It's awesome. It's sure a ride. So now we got our last 2 here. Team Extreme. That's another good team name. Second best one there. He's drafting at the 14th spot. He takes Kenyon Drake and Aaron Jones, followed by Adam Thielen, Juju Smith-Schuster, James White, Darrell Henderson Jr., Henry Ruggs III, Deshaun Jackson, Jared Cook, Carson Wentz, Kenny Stills, Carlos Hyde, Josh Reynolds, Devontae Freeman, and Josh Gordon. Ooh, sneaky pick there. Started out with Johnny last, and we're going to start off with Big Trav right now. Strengths, weaknesses. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Flip that around. Johnny, strengths, weaknesses, and overall grade for Team Extreme. Ready, go.
Sorry, no, I didn't. No, I didn't freeze. I was trying to find some of the strengths and weaknesses here. So strengths: Kenyon Drake, big fan. Aaron Jones. It's hard. It's hard. I do see a touchdown regression coming hard for Aaron Jones.
What would you say is hard, Johnny?
Yeah, right. And then Adam Thielen. I am a fan of Adam Thielen. I like that pick there. I think you'll see a lot of volume. Juju Smith. It would not surprise me to see him return to a top 5 position. But there is risk there for certain, especially if Deontay Johnson does become more of a true piece in that offense, which I fully gauge as an option and a possibility. Henry Ruggs and Deshaun Jackson. I see he's going for that high upside, wide receiver 3 there. I just am not sure if I would pick those guys, unfortunately, to do that with this year. With Deshaun Jackson, we've never seen him stay healthy, and with all of the stuff going on with the tweeting and all that. And then Henry Ruggs, he is very, very interesting, but I think he was taken a little early here in the 7th round. He does have that high upside, but he is a rookie wide receiver once again. Jared Cook, I do like that as a tight end piece, but again, I don't see a top 5 possibility. So unfortunately, I don't see a lot of oomph from this team. So I would give it a B. It'll compete, but I don't think it'll have enough to get.
He's pretty good.
B is good. Oh yeah, it's good.
I like this team. I think it may have the best range of outcomes of the teams we've talked about. Best and worst, I guess, if you look at it. It definitely has an ability to get low, but it's got a really pop ability
Yeah.
here with Kenyon Drake and Aaron Jones. Like, if Aaron Jones just shuts us all up and does his thing next year,
How
we're going
wild
to
would
be
that
really
be?
we're going to be really excited with this running back core. And then you talk about Adam Thielen, who watched Stephon Diggs leave town. And yes, Justin Jefferson should be their slot guy, and yes, he's their guy, but somebody's on the top of that depth chart, and that's Adam Thielen. Juju Smith-Schuster, once again, we talk about it all show, 2 years removed from 160 targets in this offense and top 7 at the position. If Juju's healthy and Big Ben's healthy, Juju should ball, and you got him in the 4th as your second wide receiver. James White in a half-point PPR. We know Cam Newton can get it to some wide receivers, but we know he can get it to pass-catching running backs.
Yeah,
He was
that's
just
true.
doing it with CMC.
Yeah.
So we know there's a role there for James White. Darrell Henderson, I understand. Look, I love Darrell Henderson. I was a big fan last year. They drafted Cam Akers, but if in the offshoot that Cam Akers isn't ready or doesn't get it happening and Darrell Henderson does, he's got pop, so he could be there. And I actually love this combo of Henry Ruggs and Deshaun Jackson. Banking on one of these guys to be your wide receiver that pops, Henry Ruggs, actually, of all the rookie wide receivers, probably slides into the most prominent role at rookie wide receiver because he's going to be he's going to be their Antonio Brown or what they wanted in Hard Knocks. Not saying he will be as good as Antonio Brown. Jared Cook saw tremendous upside last year in that New Orleans offense. Granted, Emmanuel Sanders comes to town, and you'll have a healthy Alvin Kamara, so we'll see how the touchdown dips there. And then Carson Wentz, we're just 3 years removed from his MVP caliber season, so he could have the upside as well too. And then really where I think this team shined was 11 through 15, honestly. He stacked Kenny Stills, but Josh Reynolds is sitting here. Sean McVay has come out and said the reason we traded Brandon Cooks is because we have Josh Reynolds. He likes Josh Reynolds. Josh Gordon sitting here after all this weed has been reverted. The weed rules have been reverted in the NFL. He could be a sneaky ad for a team late in this offseason. So I actually think this team was well put together. I'm going to give it an A-. I think it's one of the better teams that we've talked about tonight, top to bottom.
I really like Travis's breakdown on this one. I like Johnny's grade on this. Good team on this. I'm just a little bit nervous with that Aaron Jones, Adam Thielen, James White, Darrell Henderson kind of situation. Not a lot of solid picks on there, but I think overall pretty high floor and decent ceiling on this. Nice job, Team Extreme. Last one. It's Ump Daddy. Thanks for coming back on the show, Ump Daddy. Always a pleasure to have you here with us, as is with everybody else who's joined us and stayed around this late. In the 15th spot, Ump Daddy takes Julio Jones, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Christian Kirk, Deshaun Watson, Latavius Murray, CeeDee Lamb and Preston Williams are off the board. Jalen Samuels, the Patriots defense. He got him late, too. That was pretty nice. Eric Ebron, Robbie Gould, Ryan Tannehill, backup quarterback, and Brian Hill. We started with started with Johnny. We're going to start with Travis on this one. Strengths, weaknesses, and what is your overall grade for Ump Daddy, Big Trav?
I think his strengths are his tight end and quarterback. I thought getting Deshaun Watson in the 6th, especially in a 16 team, was a hell of a steal. Deshaun Watson has a chance now with a lot of what's going on in Houston to be the number 1 quarterback overall because he's got basically they said, look, you're our guy. We're going to give you the keys to this offense. They're going to let it rip with him. So I think between tight end and quarterback, he's got a very solid foundation. But he leaves himself a little bit thin at both wide receiver and running back. I love the running backs that he picked in DeAndre Swift and Cam Akers, but like you have to have them hit. And in my opinion, I can't bank on both of those guys hitting this year, especially with Kerryon Johnson still being on the roster. Now, Cam Akers, I have a little more faith in, but once again, you'd have to make sure he hit. CeeDee Lamb, I love the upside in that pick, but he could be a couple years away based on Amari Cooper's contract situation, based on Michael Gallup being there as well. Then you have Preston Williams, who flashed, but only flashed in 8 games. So we need to see a little bit more. I think, top to bottom, his pillars are really defense, quarterback, and tight end. And that just isn't enough for me to get him above the C+ hump in my mind. I guess you could say 3 elites in a way with Deshaun, Julio, and Travis Kelce, but and he did it in a roundabout way. But yeah, I think C+
generous
is
for Deshaun.
Yeah. I would say C+.
Yeah, could end up at the end of the season being 3 elites, but right now.
Yeah.
Great take, Trav.
Sure.
I think
Game
that
time.
and you might struggle off the starting line, which is never a good thing to do in fantasy football. I mean, I do like DeAndre Swift. I do think that he will be the running back you'll want ultimately in Detroit, but it might take a little bit. And same with Cam Akers. I do think that he'll be the running back that you want, but again, that offensive line is really really bad, and so you're depending on those two guys to be your running backs there. And then as far as your wide receiver 3, CeeDee Lamb, I love CeeDee Lamb, but I have a shirt on right now, CeeDee Lamb, but not this year. I don't think that he'll actually be super fantasy relevant this year. I think it's going to take until next year for him to really break out. Now, if there's a major injury, that is a different thing, and I don't like to bank on injuries for someone to break out. I thought Travis's breakdown of Preston Williams. He's coming off a torn ACL, so it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get back to full health, even if he is good to go. So I think that's going to take. I think this team will be very similar to one of my team last year. These guys will tell you where there were some nice pieces there, and at the end of the year, you're probably like, I don't really want to play this team, but it might not have enough to get you to that next season and the postseason. I think you might be sitting on the sidelines, unfortunately.
I agree with that take. You're going to be dominating fools in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
So great takes on this one. Great draft. Thank you to every person who made this full room a reality. We had all 16 slots
awesome.
filled. That's freaking nuts. Thank you all. This was so much fun. And everybody who joined in the YouTube chat. You've heard us say it. You're going to hear us say it again. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please go ahead and hit that bell, hit that thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. You can catch our daily content on thefantasywhispers.com. You can support the show through our Patreon account. We've got mock draft marathon coming up in August. We've got the draft kit coming up in the next few days. Still some room to pre-order that bad boy. Get it now while it's on sale. Johnny, Travis, what am I missing?
That's it. Have a wonderful night.
That's it, man.
That's it.
Love you guys.
We're going to go work on the draft kit some more. All right. Take it easy. Peace.
Peace out, Whisper Nation.